Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
There's everything you've ever known about adventure. And then there's the podcast, Biss.
Great.
Hey, everybody, my name is Griffin.
Let's get the show on the road. I'm David Sims.
This is Blank Check with Griffin and David. We are hashtag the two friends.
Yeah.
We are two friends who host a podcast together.
Yeah.
And people hashtag it.
Right. And sometimes one of the friends is late because of the subway, and so we get through the introduction really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, let's put some blame on my landlord. Let's not
and
just
subways
the
and landlords.
My
New York
landlord's
City,
fucking
guys.
me over pretty hard.
New York
Classic
City
New York.
problems.
3 things delayed me today: the subway, my landlord, and a nice street hot dog. You know what I'm saying?
Did you get a street hot dog?
No, I was just trying to think of a third New York thing. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Slimer driving my cab.
There we go. That's why we brought this man in on the show
This is
today.
New York, guys. Hi, it's Jake and Amir.
It's Jake and Amir. This is Blank Check.
Yeah, this is Blank
a
Check.
podcast. Well, our favorite
Talk
thing
about
to do.
movies.
Our favorite thing to do is to have the guest speak and not introduce them for like a minute.
Guests got to talk.
So
before
feel
we
free
talk
to say
about
whatever
him.
you want, but we're not going to introduce you for like one more minute. But you can contribute as much or as little as you want.
Oh, good. This is a place on Earth more awesome than anywhere in space. So, deep below the blue surface, there lies a place no one's ever dreamed of.
Oh, he was
So I
looking
just
for the
wanted to-
taglines for
I
us.
just found a couple
That's a
more.
really good one.
And there's also Believe Your Eyes. I just wanted to throw that
Jesus
out there.
Christ, there are a lot.
Believe
of
a
taglines for
lot.
this movie.
Everyone believes their eyes in this movie.
Yeah. There's no disbelief. The only people who don't believe are the people who haven't seen it. Once they see it, they're like, no, you were right.
No, sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, inarguably, those are netties. What's the tagline? Can you read your one that you loved?
He made your heart pound with the Terminator. Then he stopped it with Aliens. And then now James Cameron presents the summer's most original adventure, The Abyss.
So
But he didn't stop our heart with Aliens. He made it pound with Aliens and with the Terminator.
And my heart grew when fucking Ripley takes Newt in her arms. My heart grew Grinch style, I think that movie's heartwarming. Bishop, not bad for a rub it.
All good.
Yeah.
We're referencing last week's episode.
Isn't this a book written by, his name isn't John Mark Carr. He
You
killed
mean
Jean Benet
Orson
Ramsey.
Scott Card? He wrote a
Orson.
novelization.
Whoever killed Jean Benet Ramsey didn't write The Abyss, but John Mark Carr.
Well, we don't know who killed Ron.
That's
so
true.
The
It
answer,
could have
question
been.
is unanswered.
It could have been. What's his name?
Orson Scott Card, who
Orson
is
Card.
an
Could have been
absolute
Orson
lunatic.
Card.
Yeah, he's a famed homophobe and the author of Ender's Game.
Whoa!
Which is a great book.
Yeah,
Harrison Ford's Ender's Game?
Yes,
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
No, Haley Steinfeld's Ender's Game.
Yeah.
She was in that, right?
Yep, 100%.
I saw it.
Yep.
Haley Joe Steinfeld was in that?
Yes, Haley Joe Seinfeld. I say that Bible.
But yeah, I can't even. He's crazy. He's crazy in like 8 different ways, right? Orson Scott Card.
Yeah,
he's a crazy.
a
person.
bunch of ways. He's a Mormon. He hates the gays very actively. It's not just like, well, I'm not crazy about him. He like goes out of his way to
But
let everyone
isn't he
know.
also? He also thinks we should all like live on an island in the moon or something. I feel like
100%.
I don't know. I feel like he's one of those guys he throws you a curveball
Yeah.
along with the traditional shit. Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves here.
We are.
But
Oh.
this is a podcast called Blank Check. We go through filmographies of directors who have big success early on, then get a series of blank checks to make their own crazy projects. Sometimes those checks clear and sometimes they bounce.
You've got it down. You're an actor. You can learn lines.
Thank
It's
you.
great. I mean, I could never do that. What
Only
you
takes
just did.
75 episodes and I got it. That's
You
the
got
reason
it.
they call me 75 Take Newman. Because the 75th time is word perfect. We're currently, we do miniseries, and the filmmaker we're currently talking about in this miniseries is Slick Jimmy Cameron.
Yep. Slippery Jimmy.
Slippery Jimmy.
Mhm.
Wet Jim.
Oh.
That sounds
Soaking
sexy,
wet.
But he is soaking wet.
Yeah.
Dripping Wet Jim.
Jim and Wet Jim. This miniseries is called Potinator: Judgment Cast.
Correct, you nailed
That's
it.
what it's called.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about The Abyss.
The Abuse.
We have,
That's what the crew members called this movie.
well, really, that's
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah,
They printed out T-shirts that said "Life's abuse and then you die."
that's really funny.
Yeah, they didn't like making this movie.
It's a good joke, 5 comedy points.
Dude, the crew of The Abyss, 1989.
That's the film we're talking about, and we have a very special guest here today.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's someone else in the room.
This guy can throw a Slimer reference like no other.
Uh-oh.
He
Ed
came,
Harris.
came up the ranks with Jake and Amir.
He did.
He was a College Humor guy,
Yeah.
and he currently has a podcast on the HeadGum Network.
Yeah.
That's true.
Called the Mindhouse Podcast.
Mhm.
And he's a phenomenal actor and director.
It's all right.
And a friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time now.
We've known each other for a bit. Yes, it's me, Josh Cameron, and I'm really excited to be here.
It's James Cameron's son. Joshy. Josh Ruben Cameron.
I call my mother Linda. I don't call her Mom.
Oh, wow. That's a deep cut. I like that.
Well, I want to get back around to the
Did
Orson
Galen
Scott
Hurd
Card
have
thing.
any kids? Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Talk about Orson Scott Card.
She had kids with Brian De Palma.
Yeah, man.
I don't think she had
what
kids.
What a fucking time those 80s directors had.
Crazy.
Just swapping wives and abandoning children.
And you know what Brian De Palma's daughter with Galen Hurd is named, right?
Oh, no.
I don't.
Are you ready for your skin to crawl?
Yeah, sure.
So just think.
Oh, no, I know what it is.
It's Brian De Palma. He's not doing this by
it's
accident.
No good.
His daughter's name is Lolita.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Brian De Palma.
Have you seen De Palma?
Transgressive to the end.
Did you see De Palma, the documentary?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's so fucking good, and you should watch it.
I will watch it.
It's so good, and he has this thing where he doesn't swear, and he just keeps going like, "Oh, holy mackerel!" And like by the 10th time he does it, my theater was just in hysterics because it's just
Holy mackerel! Can you choose scissor on action again?
Exactly. I mean, he's like, and then we put Michael Caine in the wig, and holy it's
He's like the most obscene human being in the world, but he doesn't believe in having a potty mouth.
12-minute, one take. Holy moly!
So The Abyss. You want to talk about Orson Scott Card? He just wrote the novelization.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So James Cameron wrote the screenplay, and then I looked it up today because this film is very hard to watch now. I had to borrow Josh's DVD. Josh,
there is a 4K version of it supposedly coming out next year.
Okay.
Like Cameron's supposedly tinkering away at some Blu-ray of it,
But it's currently not on any streaming
fucking
platforms.
impossible to find. It's not on iTunes.
That's the other thing. You can't rent it for
you
money
can't buy
from
this
any place.
movie online, which you can buy fucking anything.
It literally only exists legally on physical media. It's not available in any sort of digital form as of this moment.
Why do you think that is?
It's on Laserdisc.
An Academy Award winning.
Yeah, Josh is holding up his copy of the DVD, which has a sleeve around it
gold.
that's gold that says Academy Award winner visual effects.
Yeah, it did win one Academy Award.
It won one
I
Academy
think because
Award.
we had some chat about this on Twitter. I think it's just Cameron is he's not going to put something else half-assed. He likes to put out these very curated special editions.
I think that's the thing.
He just wants to fix it up, and God knows he's going to change the ending again or something. I mean, who knows? Like,
I remember at times over the last 5 or 6 years seeing it on your Netflixes, your HBO Goes.
Sure.
I think it was still in circulation up until pretty recently. I think because he's close to finishing this remaster, he has the power and the sway certainly within Fox to be like, nope, I don't want anyone watching it until I have my better version.
This is a
out
Fox
there.
joint.
It's a Fox joint. This was the beginning of. Oh no! I'll get to this. This is an interesting detail.
No, because Aliens is Fox, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But he starts a deal right after Terminator 2, his Lightstorm deal.
Oh yeah. And
does that I get final cut on everything?
It's the deal that gives him $500 million.
That's what the deal is.
He work with him.
He makes a deal after Terminator 2 that's for 5 years and $500 million. And part of that deal is he gets an additional $500,000 to finish The Abyss 4 years later.
Yeah, he fixed The Abyss with that deal.
Yeah, so theatrical is 1989, and then they re-release it in 93. Because after Terminator 2 in 91, he's like, give me $500,000. I'm bringing ILM back full force.
Yeah. He's like, Catherine Bigelow gets to make Strange Days.
Yeah.
He does all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And I just love that it's 5 years, $500 million. He makes 2 movies. One of them costs $115 million. The other one costs
twice as much.
$250 million.
A little movie called Titanic. Yeah.
All
right.
But yes, Josh and I are currently working on something together. We're shooting something together. And thankfully, we'd been talking about Cameron on set and talking about The Abyss. And then I was like, oh, of course we should have you on. Then realized it was unwatchable. I'm seeing you every day, so you're able to bring in the thing. But the other thing is we are currently working with a cast member of The Abyss.
God, Chris Elliott.
Chris Elliott
is in this show.
And me and Josh were talking about this off mic. About how he wasn't in the nightmare part of the shoot, right? Because he's up on the boat up top.
I think he got pretty clean.
He didn't have to go underwater.
Yeah. He's in one location the whole time.
On the boat.
They probably shot him for 4 days.
He sits in a chair.
But
he looks at a control
they
panel.
still did. I didn't get to ask him about this, but apparently they still made him do 30 takes,
Oh, I'm
of
sure.
whatever
Jesus
per scene.
Christ.
I'm sure.
I don't even remember a fucking thing he does except look at a control panel.
He's very charming in it. I mean, it's one of those great like.
Yeah,
He's
he
well
gets
cast.
his moments.
Yes,
in
he's
there
well
for sure.
cast.
He plays Bendix.
Right, but that's the thing. Like in a movie like this, where you have a lot of people looking at screens and delivering information, what you want is an actor like Chris Elliott, who's always going to make it a little more interesting than it's written.
Right, a little nuance.
Yeah, there's just some weird stuff going on. Like he's not going full Get a Life, but he's doing like some weird character stuff.
Yeah, there's
It's
an
a
eye
weird
twitch
movie.
in there. He has a hive, That says something about Mary.
Did you Woogie? 5 comedy points.
Woogie.
Did you hear
Frankie Beans.
Bridie was telling the story about? I think she was telling it, and then when he walked in, she stopped
Bridie,
telling
we should
it.
say Bridie Elliott.
Bridie Elliott,
Chris
who's
Elliott's
also in the show.
daughter.
So we're working on a
Yes.
show right now called Thanksgiving, in which Chris Elliott plays our father, and we are 2 of 6 siblings, including Bridie, Chris's real daughter. 6 people who look identical.
Did you? All of us. We cut from the same cloth. Comedically. And did she tell you? Was it the one about the laughing, the
Yes.
Close Encounters thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was like telling it, and then when he walked in, she sort of stopped the story. Like I think it was like because then we were talking about the bits when we were holding up the DVD, and he was walking in like the room, and I could tell he was like, "Are they gonna fucking like
big time me?
Are
with
they
so,
doing
like, make
something?
me big time them?
Yeah, he's a great
Yeah,
guy.
right.
But I could tell the unease of like, are they doing this on purpose?
Right,
Do they
right,
know I'm
right,
in this
right.
Fucker's
movie?
gonna ask me to sign
That's
that
the thing. I was literally
gold-sleeved-
holding up a gold sleeve DVD and like
So
gesturing
you didn't
and
talk
stuff.
to Chris Elliott about The Abyss.
We didn't. But
Okay.
Bridie, his
But
daughter,
Bridie, his daughter,
was like, "Oh, my dad has a really funny story about The Abyss," and we're like, "What is it?" And it's like there's the moment where he's like sort of laughing hysterically. I think when they sort of like pull it off.
Yeah.
And the thing comes up, and he said he did that take as a goof. He was parodying, what's her name, Melinda Dillon in Close Encounters for the Third
right.
Kind. And he was doing his impression just like, okay, this take I'm going to do my Melinda Dillon thing. And that's the take they used.
Hey.
Which is kind of funny.
It doesn't stand out
It
like
doesn't.
it works.
Well, he's a good actor. I mean, he was doing an impression, but he did it realistically.
It's an ensemble. I mean, exactly.
But
They're
you
all
don't for one
celebrating.
scene think like, well, what the fuck's Chris Elliott doing?
Yeah.
Like, what is he? Oh,
Yeah.
No, it works.
It works. It definitely works.
It's probably the best moment of the movie now that we talk about
It's
it.
probably the best moment. In the
It's
film.
probably what it's all building toward.
But this is the thing I find very interesting about this movie. And I realized, I was like, going into watching this time, I was like, have I ever seen this? Because there was a period in high school where I would just like, whenever I had to fucking do homework, I'd put a movie on, you know?
Sure.
Like there was a lot of whatever was on TV I'd watch in the background, sometimes depending on how hard the homework was or how rebellious I was feeling,
understand.
I'd watch it more or less closely. It's like, I think I've seen it, but maybe like half watched it or whatever. Watching it, I was like, no, I think I've only seen pieces of this.
Same.
And the interesting thing is, like, I realized how little I knew about it, but you have, like, your core trifecta of Ed Harris, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and Michael Biehn.
Mastrantonio.
Mastrantonio.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Biehn.
Yeah, I mean, like, they were the 3 biggest stars of the 80s, right?
Yes,
Your
no
Harris,
question. Yeah.
Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and Bean.
They were the 3 musketeers of Hollywood.
Exactly. I mean, right.
Yeah.
Right. They're the 3 amigos, right? In the movie 3 Amigos?
Yes,
It's
100%.
them. Yeah,
And then Chris Elliott was the D'Artagnan. He was sort of the 4th.
yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, but I was like so surprised watching this. Like, you're used to movies like this, especially like James Cameron movies, where you look at the supporting cast of like the grunts and you're like, oh, that's that guy before he became that thing.
Oh, you're going to make a point that I was going to make as well.
It's really interesting that
Yeah.
like all the actors in this just sort
They're
of
nobody.
were nobody. They
And,
were
like,
like good, solid character actors who
The
just
hammer punch dude, what's his name? Like Captain in real life. One of the guys killed himself a year later, and apparently he was like the only certified diver.
yeah. And the dude with the
interesting.
mouse,
I want to look that up.
the dude with the mouse is Todd Graff, who directed Camp,
Oh,
that Anna
really?
Kendrick movie.
Okay.
And he did 2 other films.
Oh, yeah, look at him. He's bald now.
Yeah.
Here, his Wikipedia picture has him hugging the actress Keke Palmer.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm.
But yeah, like, you know, it's weird that all of them sort of like, you know, you keep on going like, oh, someone's going to pop up in the background.
Yeah,
He wrote and directed Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. I felt the exact same way. He's got these weird, like I don't know, this weird skill for picking actors who you never see again.
Right.
I guess in this movie, I'm trying to think if it's true of other movies.
You
It's
look at
not so
Aliens
much.
and it's like, okay, like
Those guys
I
mostly
don't feel
pop
like
up in
I've
other
seen
stuff.
Sam Worthington since Avatar.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
Well, he was, you know, he's still on Pandora.
Well, the crazy thing, he is still stuck on Pandora. The crazy thing is, you saw Sam Worthington so much before Avatar. Like, they did the bet.
Sure, because he'd made Avatar,
Right.
and then he goes and makes Terminator
There was so much
Salvation, and he makes
yeah.
that movie where he's like on a ledge.
Right. I think Clash of the Titans
Ledge.
came out like
Clash of the Titans.
I think came out like 2 months after Avatar.
Yeah.
Like, he had like 5
it was all
in the
lined
can,
up. Yeah.
and then it just like done.
Yeah.
You know.
He's a little bit of a Jim Caviezel. He'll pop up doing Man of Interest. Maybe.
Yes.
Not person, but
no, man. Yeah,
let's be clear.
Yeah. It's the MRA version of
Yeah.
people of person of
a
interest.
lot more specific.
But there's you kept on looking. So it's Paxton was not really a big deal before Aliens, and he obviously became a much bigger
you're right.
actor.
This isn't incongruous.
And then someone like Jeanette Goldstein, who never got huge, but it's a character actress who worked in a lot of big movies,
mostly
Cameron, but other
movies.
things. Yeah,
but look, Michael Biehn is the king of these people because he's just in James Cameron movies.
Right.
I know he's in The Rock. He's in a couple things, but this is it, right? This is pretty much the last we hear of Michael Biehn.
It's weird that and it's weird that that Biehn is the only
he might
one.
as well have popped under the ocean,
correct,
like a balloon.
Correct, I agree. It's weird that Biehn is the only one of the usual Cameron regulars in this movie because he usually has he's going to give Goldstein something. Paxton's in most of them, he's got a circulation of the same actors sort of over and over again. And in this, it's just Biehn, and then Chris Elliott feels like that's the kind of personality you would want on the actual ship.
Yeah,
and
let's make the tech talk funny.
Right. Instead, he's the point guy. He's
he's in the first 5 minutes in the last 10.
Right.
He's not really in the movie at all.
But he's kind of the actor, the type
of
actor.
He's the fourth one you remember.
He is. He absolutely is. He's the only other person in this movie I've ever heard of.
But even picking Reiser right after Diner, it's you kind of expect all the other people to be populated, the cast to be populated, and it's
Well, also, I mean, as Ben and I were talking, he's who's that woman? Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio was the hottest ingenue
crazy.
now,
For
and she
10
disappeared.
Years, she was humongous. I mean, to look at her Wikipedia, I don't think she's made a movie
Did she
since
stop after Perfect Storm?
Basically.
Yeah, that's
her last movie
last...
is 2002, is that right?
No, her last movie is The Perfect Storm.
Maybe she's
really?
like Ellen Barkin and married the heir to Maybelline or something.
She's married to a much older director who directed her in something.
To Pat O'Connor, an Irish director who made movies like Dancing at Lufthansa, Circle of Friends.
Oh.
Not a big director.
So she's done TV since then, but hasn't done a movie since. She did a movie called Tabloid in 2001 I've never heard of, but it was
That's
pretty much
not a real
Perfect
movie.
Storm.
Yeah.
But you look at her career, right? So it's okay, uncredited extra in King Comedy. That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
Then her first movie is Scarface.
Right, where she's the sister.
Okay?
Right.
Then her second movie is Color of Money, for which she gets an Oscar nomination.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay? Then Slam Dance, then The Abyss, then January Man, where she meets her husband, then Fools of
With
Fortune.
Kevin Kline.
Yes.
That's not a bad movie.
Then Fools of Fortune, then Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
And then that's it.
Oh, she was Maid Marian.
Oh, yeah.
And then it stops. Then she still works, but in stuff that doesn't really get released, and they're more and more spread out. And then there's nothing big in between Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Perfect Storm.
She's very good in Limbo, which is a basically unseen movie, the John Sayles movie with David Strathairn. Yeah, that's a good movie.
That was almost The River Wild, but not.
Yeah,
Aren't They in the Woods?
It has a weird twist. It's a good movie.
She was a really good
and she's
actress.
good in The Perfect Storm, but it's not a big role. It's mostly just her yelling on
her
the
on a
radio.
walkie.
Yeah.
Come back here,
Georgie.
Come back here.
But I even remember seeing for your consideration ads for that. I mean, I think it was a little half-hearted, but Warner Brothers made half an attempt to be that's a good supporting performance.
Did you know the studio really pushed to have Michael Biehn get an Academy Award?
They apparently put a lot of money into that,
which is misguided.
He's very good in this, but there was
no
way he was ever going to get an Oscar nomination.
If he was in the whole movie, doing what he's doing in the movie,
cutting his arm under the table,
right.
yeah.
But when he cuts his arm under the table, you're like, whoa, how crazy is this guy? Wait, I thought he was just a little mean.
Right.
But anyway, we'll get
There's
to
essentially
he's fine.
One 10-minute stretch where he's really playing the mania very well.
Sure.
And then that dissolves into
big fights.
Yeah. Dissolves into big fights.
And then it dissolves into crashing submarines into each other.
Right. Before that, he's just kind of like a grunt. He's like a. Yeah.
Can I do some setup?
Yes, let's do some setup.
I'm going to do some
setup. We love
setup.
context on this show, Josh. I know you love context. We're fucking connoisseurs of context.
Slimer's driving my cab.
See, that's the context you need because otherwise you wouldn't understand why the cab was so crazy. Why does this cab smell like hot dogs? Oh, context. Slimer is driving the cab. Of course, it is Slimer driving the cab.
That's a great Slimer.
Tasmanian Devil.
All right, okay. Yeah. James Cameron, he makes Aliens.
Huge.
He's on top of the world, right?
Yeah.
He's married to Gail Ann Hurd.
Uh-huh.
His producer on the Terminator. Does she produce Aliens? I can't remember.
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
He reads about deep sea divers in National Geographic, and he's like, you know him. He loves water.
Okay.
He's into water.
But this was the start of his deep dive.
This is the start of him, I think,
he just was a
exploring,
fan
like-
of water in sort of an abstract way, and then it became a real life.
He saw water and he goes, I want to put actors in that.
He writes.
Wait a second.
He writes a script that's very obviously based on where Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio is playing his wife, and Ed
Interesting.
Harris is him. It's so obvious.
Interesting.
They
Yeah.
are married
Yeah.
while he's writing the script. They split up while the movie's going into pre-production. They are divorced by the time the movie comes out.
Wow.
This
And
movie
she
is
remains
certainly
as producer. I mean, it's like they're stuck
charting-
in a submarine together, having to work together, despite being at wit's end.
Well, she produces T2, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's the end of their
I'm
relationship.
saying she produced
That's a
this.
big-
No, she produced
Right,
this for
right,
sure.
right,
Oh
right,
yeah, yeah.
And I think T2 is probably
No, but-
contractual because she did the
No,
first
of course.
one. I
But
don't
like
think
it
she
is
was
fascinating to imagine.
Yeah.
Like this movie's playing out. It's
Yeah.
the worst shoot. I'll get to that in a second. Pretty much in recorded Hollywood history, along with like The Revenant and
Yeah.
like I don't know, Days of Heaven. I mean,
Yeah.
not Days of Heaven. What's
On.
it called? Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate.
You know,
Waterworld. It's like the big
Waterworld.
ones they
It's
always
one of-
talk about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like yeah, they're not married. Like they're breaking up, and the movie's about like a broken up couple who they figure it out. They get back
Yeah.
together. They love each other. He's got the big ring. But anyway,
You have
that's
to wonder if
crazy.
there was some sort of like attempt at self-actualization there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. He's romanticizing shit so much
Right.
with this. They divorce after the movie comes out, or
Yeah.
after the movie finishes shooting.
Okay.
They're like very divorced by the time the movie
Yeah.
comes out. Okay, the movie we just got. It's set mostly underwater.
Yeah.
40% of the photography in this movie is underwater.
Right.
They had to build special cameras to shoot underwater.
Yeah.
They had to build 2 tanks because there was no tank in existence that was large enough to shoot in. So they built 2 tanks that are like a gazillion. Sorry, I've got it right here. 7.5 million gallons of water in these tanks, 55 feet deep.
And the
And they-
homophobic capital of the world, too.
In the Cayman
North
Islands, or well, right? No,
Carolina.
no, it's in South Carolina.
South
I'm sorry,
Carolina.
South
Just,
Carolina.
just
Okay,
before I
different.
forget, sidebar,
Now
because
that-
we
so
already
they still got some
There were
problems
some
over
great
there.
whites there, so. And I'm not talking about the sharks.
right. You're talking
Great
about
Caucasian
some unbelievable Caucasians in that town. Just before I forget, because it triggered, and we already opened this can of worms. The Orson Scott Card thing, because someone threw out, like, do you think the reason the movie isn't available is because there was a big sort of Orson Scott Card backlash in the last couple of years? And there's always a bit of confusion as to whether or not he was instrumental in the writing of the film.
Sure.
Cameron wrote the script, then gave it to Orson Scott Card, like, before they were filming,
To
and said,
do a
like,
novelization.
and can you deepen it and
Sure.
give more
Maybe punch
backstory
it
to the
up a little,
characters for the actors to use? So it wasn't just like broaden it for the audience.
I got you.
That was a big thing. Was like Orson Scott Card was writing additional backstory for Bean, Mastrantonio, Ed Harris that all of them were like using. Like they
Right,
were
right.
accepting the details that he was writing.
He wrote
as
their character
canon.
diary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
So-
has no official credit on the film.
Right.
So
Right.
they covered this tank with a tarp.
Also,
because
he's a homophobe.
it needed to be dark so that they could light the movie.
Okay.
So just imagine you're Ed Harris. You have to get in a 55 foot deep tank
Yeah.
of water in a fucking submarine.
You have no idea you're going to be doing HBO's Westworld. In
You're not
20 years.
thinking
You
about
have
that
no
yet.
idea.
Having a glimmer in his eye.
You liked Westworld,
No,
the
you're
movie.
gonna do the hours you don't know.
Well, no, he knew.
He that one he did.
knew.
Josh,
Yeah,
let's
no,
be
he knew
honest.
that
with
for
you.
a long time.
Prosthetic
Always the
nose on my
hours.
friend Nicole.
But then, and then they're like, "Great, you're underwater. Let's put the tarp over, so it's total darkness."
And can we go one step further?
How fucking depressing is this?
Can we go one step further for a 15-minute set piece in the movie?
We will drown you.
You're in the tank with the tarp, and your helmet is also filled with water. So you're double submerged.
And the water in the movie is going to be like experimental water you can breathe, but in real life, it's just water we made pink, and you just have to hold your
So wait
breath.
a minute. This fluorocarbonated,
Sure.
fluorooxygenated carbon water, whatever it is.
The in
They
utero,
really
utero
did
water.
put their heads in this water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were breathing, quote unquote, this water.
Probably like fucking, yeah,
For
Fanta
months.
strawberry,
for
like
like
whatever.
40
it is. Yeah.
seconds at a time or
Yeah.
whatever.
But you
So-
look at how much screen time he has with that helmet on.
I mean,
It's a nightmare.
I mean, even if you're
There
doing
must have
like,
been some shots they did where there was some kind of like
In
screen
play- yeah,
between
like a
him.
goldfish.
But there are scenes that he was submerged, his face was submerged in water because they have
do
to,
you
you know.
do
the
that?
physics of just how his face is sort of like swelling
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
tell, even just the way it's moving in there. But you also have to think like, okay, so there's maybe like, I don't know what the longest single shot without an edit of him in the thing is, right? But even if you go like, okay, Ed Harris can only hold his breath for like 30 seconds to a minute, so we can only shoot that much at a time. That means that it probably took like 2 weeks to shoot all of that shit. Because he's probably got a solid 10 minutes.
The movie took the movie movie shot for 6 months,
Jesus Louise.
70 hours a week,
Oh, my God.
6 days a week, on an isolated set that's mostly underwater.
On their day off, they all cried.
Yeah, on their day off. Here, I want to lay this all out right now, so then we can talk about the movie with just all that in mind. You know, when the rat breathes the water, that's the actual experimental water. It's actually breathing, and that scene is not in the British release of The Abyss because it was seen as cruel to animals.
Wow.
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio.
David grew up in England.
I did.
He drops it a lot.
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio literally freaked out when they were shooting the scene where she's getting revived because they ran out of film on one take while he's like whacking her chest and she's topless.
He still slapped her in the face and she walked
and
out.
So apparently she screamed, "We're not animals," and refused to shoot anymore. So all the shit of Ed Harris yelling is to nothing. He had to react off of nothing.
Wait, so the film ran out and Ed Harris, I assumed the explanation was that like he's a method actor, he was in the moment.
I don't know. He's just still wailing at her. I don't know.
Insisted on continuing to hit her?
I don't know about that. Josh is just saying that. He's just making that up.
He really did slap her in the face.
Oh no, yeah, he sure slapped her in the face.
And then the camera ran out, and Cameron didn't stop it, and know it,
and then it
kept going.
That's insane.
So she refused to Ed Harris said that...
That's not even the worst that happened.
Ed Harris said at one point he was driving home and he just burst into spontaneous, sobbing and, couldn't stop. And he had to, pull over and just, sob for, half an hour or whatever, you know.
And look, not to talk out of school, but Ed Harris is known as being one of the worst temperaments in Hollywood.
Yeah, he's a grumpy man.
I have a lot of friends who have worked with him in different capacities over the years, at different set positions. And even on just, a nice little movie that's swimming along, they're like, that guy, that's the toughest actor I've ever come across. Mm-hmm. He's just really particular and real hair trigger.
Is he a giving actor? If you're good, is he gonna
I imagine
respond
him being
to that?
very present with you.
He's such a good actor.
He's such a good actor. I do think there's probably a bit of a thing.
How do you set him off? How do you bug Ed Harris if you're making the hours where all he has to do is sit on the windowsill?
And also, did him and Vigo just lock horns? I mean, because, come on.
That's the thing. I would imagine he's kind of one of those guys where he gives a lot to his actors if he feels like they're challenging him.
Sure. Right,
he doesn't work in a gentle collaborative way. It's we have to fucking lock horns and push each other harder.
He wants
harder
to.
and harder.
Yeah, sure.
He's antagonistic.
He's like Pollock. I mean, that's why he always wanted to make a movie about Jackson Pollock, who was the most gigantic fucking shit asshole in the whole universe, and he was like, "This is the guy I need to play."
And that's also what makes him a good actor. That's the very quality that he brings across in his performances, where it's Ed Harris just seems so serious-minded about everything he's doing. I had a friend who was a first-team PA on a movie he worked on, and that position is literally your job is to get the actors and be like, "Hey, they need you on set now. Can you go to hair and makeup?" And he just said every interaction that was just him doing my job is to say Ed, hey, they need you in hair and makeup. Yeah. Was just what
was the movie?
I don't even remember what movie it was. It was a smaller thing in the last 10 years. It was an independent film.
So I just want to wrap all this up. There was a lightning storm that tore the tarp to pieces, so they then had to shoot only at night. And some of the divers, skin was burned and their hair turned white because they were under the water so much.
It was chlorinated.
Yeah, right. And
Jesus Christ.
Michael Biehn says he was on set for 5 months and acted for 3 weeks. It's like that. So it was a lot of also just waiting and sitting and doing nothing. The movie cost about $70 million to make. The original budget was $43. Ed Harris will never speak about it. He says, "I'm never talking about it, and I never will." That's his quote about the movie. Mary Elizabeth.
There's a documentary called Under Pressure that's supposed to be.
Ooh, I'd like to see that.
That's a great title. Also,
Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio said, "The Abyss was a lot of things. Fun to make was not one of them." That's all. That's all I got for you. I just wanted to give you guys,
that having said, pretty good movie.
Yeah, decent movie. I don't know, but it's
it's interesting.
You hear about what a nightmare Titanic was to make or whatever. This one, and you're well, you know what? They got a fucking movie everyone remembers out of it. The Abyss isn't quite that.
I agree with you, but I also think...
is The Abyss one of the 5 best movies Ed Harris ever made? No.
No, National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets. I wish I had 4 more right off the dome. No, what I was going to say is, though, I think the difference between this and Titanic is ooh, that was complicated, but boy, they made this transcendent thing that connected with everybody. And, broke all the rules and whatever. this movie gains some power from how burnt out everyone
Well, it's
is.
kind of Revenant-esque, right?
Yes.
Although I think this movie's better than The Revenant.
I think
but-
inarguably infinitely better. But I think there is something where, like, this movie is, it's the saddest movie Cameron's ever made.
Yeah.
I think. It's got
very haunted, but then it's
very haunted.
But then it ends happy, which doesn't work. That's
Which
sort of part of the
feels
problem.
a little jarring,
Yeah.
and I think that's probably where I didn't know the context of the divorce happening
Sure.
while this movie's
Maybe
happening.
he's trying to fix things.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think the better version of this movie ends with them split up.
No, the better version of this movie ends with him at the fucking bottom of the ocean.
With the aliens, and he stays
Yeah,
down there, and she
right.
thinks he's dead, and she goes on with her life.
Sure.
Because
Wait,
that's...
the only version I feel like I remember is
We
them
should say this movie-
rekindling at
Oh,
the
yeah.
top.
Oh, they
Yeah.
rekindle.
So that's what everybody in the
We're
world
saying
saw,
that's
quote,
the
unquote.
idealized version of the movie that doesn't exist.
There's a version. Wait a minute. So
This was not shot. This is us
He's
rewriting.
He's
I
saying he
see.
wants it to
That's
be
what
this
I
way.
want it to be.
There's a
you know?
there is indeed a better right.
Because the two fake outs they do with the deaths in the movie, spoiler alert, where each one
yeah, of
has the
course.
near-death experience. I
Yeah,
was
guys,
like,
spoiler alert. We're going to spoil the abyss.
1989's Abyss.
both times that happened, I was like, I'm going to give this movie a lot of credit if they kill one of them off, because they're a couple
Sure.
that shouldn't be together,
Yeah.
and they're both married to their work, and it like makes sense for one of them to have to make the sacrifice, you know?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, if you want to talk about like the most autobiographical version of this film, in hindsight, it's 2020, you probably didn't have the self-awareness to do this at the time, is like she goes up to land and goes on with her life, and James Cameron stays at the bottom of the ocean
Yeah,
and never
right.
gets
Just
out
being
again.
happy.
Right. That's where he wants to be. Like, he doesn't really understand human.
The aliens are the worst part of the movie, like in terms of their
A little
purpose in the
liquid
plot.
butterfly? Come on. That same thing later went on to control the body in Independence Day.
It does
so-
kind of look like
It
that thing in
does.
Independence Day.
Yeah.
And ILM made both movies.
And
like worked on both
here's
movies.
another crazy thing. That same
They
thing.
might have been like, let's just like put some goo on the abyss alien. Come
People
on.
don't know that.
How hard do we
know
have to
this,
work?
but those
Welcome to
same
Earth.
things, they were in the abyss. They were the same things in Independence Day, and they also wrote Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead.
Great, and they did.
wrote
they
that.
did a great job.
They did a great job. It's a solid script.
Is that the movie with Christopher Walken and Andy Garcia?
Yeah.
That's
when he
correct.
goes, well, you can suck my dead dick. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Walken.
That's really good. Oh, Josh is like a master impressionist. I don't know if you know.
he's
He's the
busted out-
Slimer.
He's
The-
busted out 3
Yeah.
impressions. Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember about Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. Not
It has
Good line.
It has Buscemi as Mr. Shh, right? Like he's like an assassin called Mr. Shh. It was like that movie. Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead is like the ultimate like
Post
just
Tarantino. Yeah.
jizz movie
Yeah,
where
yeah.
they're just like gangsters. Everyone's got a weird name.
Treat
This is
Williams
good, right?
ate his own shit, and he talked about it being spongy.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an Ed Harris? Have you ever done it?
No, but I better be something close to the like. No,
At some
He's
You're
way,
within
got-
range.
You're
definitely within
in
it, yeah.
you're 80s Harris right now. Now I was just watching Westworld
Mary.
this week, and
Okay.
and he's now just he's so gravelly. He's
Yeah.
so far down the register.
Bob Dylan.
Got him in a History of Violence.
Oh,
Is the best.
Yeah.
That's what he's
Fogarty.
That's what you want from him now.
Fogarty.
He's just a man who walks into a room and everyone's like, I don't want to
Yeah.
even
Didn't
sit
he
next
just
to this
very
guy.
quickly get shot in the head, and then it was about William Hurt, and that
He gets killed like the
John-
halfway point, but the first half he's in a lot.
He's
Yeah,
in it a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
because
He
he's
has
the one who
some
like
good
shows up to the
monologues.
diner. He's
Yeah.
like, I heard you killed a bunch of
you
guys.
kill people.
You're sure nice, Vigo.
I
Like,
just remember
yeah.
he says Fogarty so much in that movie because he's trying to call Vigo's bluff.
Fogarty.
Goes, here's what's bugging me. I'm thinking about this guy Fogarty. He just keeps saying Fogarty.
Fogarty,
I think he like
Fogarty.
dies like right at the halfway point.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little past halfway. I
No,
need to
it's
watch
on the
that movie
lawn.
again. It's
It's
on
on
the
the
lawn.
lawn.
It's on the
Oh
lawn.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Because then is it then he has the rough sex with Maria Bello on the stairs?
Yes, it's after that.
They
And
fuck on the
then-
stairs after that, yeah.
And then I mean, because like the last part of that movie,
Big Hurt
William
comes
Hurt.
in.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Big Hurt comes in and he, he lays it down.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Big Hurt is so incredible in that movie. It's one of those perfect.
It's the
Did
best.
they get an Academy Award
Yes,
nomination?
Got an
100%
Academy
for like
Award
6 minutes of
nomination
screen
For a
time.
And
6-minute
they
monologue.
campaigned Harris
Right,
harder.
that's what I was gonna
And he
say.
won some critics awards. Like he's
Yeah.
also good in the movie.
Right.
And then, but no, you
Harris
can't-
got a little fucked over because I think he would have gotten nominated if anyone else had played the William Hurt role. I think Ed Harris would have gotten a Best Supporting Actor nomination
Jimmy,
that
what
year.
the fuck? There's that like scene at the end.
Yeah, the first half of the movie you're watching Harris and you're like, this is unbelievable. And then when Hurt comes on screen, it's hard to remember the rest of the movie.
Joey, what the fuck? Or what the fuck, Joey? Yeah.
Raheem.
Raheem.
Raheem, listen.
That
You
was
fucked with me.
We were also ready for William Hurt to just like own shit for another 10 years, and he kind of didn't. It was sort of a bummer.
It was weird.
Yeah, then he did Stephen King's Dreamscape, Nightmarescapes. Anyway, Nightmares and Dreamscape.
It was very odd because it was
Harris,
that was
man.
such a good like kind of comeback performance.
Yeah.
Especially buried deep in the movie.
So Eddie Harris.
Eddie Harris.
Actually.
Can I say something about Ed Harris?
Hey, guess who it is? I was waiting for you to come in, Benny. This is a wet movie for you.
Oh, I love it. Soaking wet.
This, of course, the man who loves them wet and loves it big.
I've said that on the podcast before. It's true.
Producer
I like it
Ben.
wet.
Ben Hosley, the
Yeah.
Ben Deucer.
Uh-huh.
Producer Ben. Birthday Benny.
all
Tiebreaker.
It's all
The
true.
Poet Laureate. Our finest film critic.
Yeah.
White Hot Benny. The Fuck Master. He is not Professor Crispy,
No.
despite the fact that his audio is crisp. And we've had some people recently in reviews on iTunes say that it's very hard for them to not call him Professor Crispy because they notice how crisp the audio is.
It's crisp.
But
And
don't
I
do
understand the struggle. The struggle is real, but you have to fucking hold
it.
back.
Do not do it, please.
Agreeing with the Hello Fennel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could do that.
Call him Mr. Positive.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to portmanteau it.
Yeah, that's
He
cool.
has,
You've
of course,
done it all.
graduated to different titles over the
Okay.
course of different miniseries.
Right.
Producer Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
Kylo Ben. Ben I. Shyamalan.
Mhm.
Ben Sate.
Yeah.
And, of course, regrettably, Benny Ling.
Yeah. Not a fan. But hey, whatever. The fans, that's what they want.
Benny Lane. That's his name.
That's his name.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah.
Benny Lane.
The thing about this intro, as it gets longer and longer, the comment that I'm about to make is so stupid, and it really builds
I
it
know.
up. in a
To
fun
me,
way.
that's the funny. You're like, hey, I just wanted to say one thing. We're like, oh, it's Ben.
All right, he's gonna say something. Well,
And I want to reassure Josh that he is our finest film critic.
I am. I'm really good with that stuff. Hey,
How many apples do you give it
I give it.
on the Rosen scale?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it.
Neil Rosen.
I'm gonna give it 2.5.
Ooh.
Like a chomped in apple.
Are the apples wormy or are they maintained pure apples?
Good call. I'll say one's wormy.
Okay.
And one is non-organic.
Oh, interesting. We're talking Granny Smith, Macintosh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Granny Smith because this leaves a little bit of a tart kind of taste in my mouth.
Oh.
Did you have a point to make, Ben?
Yeah,
The
Ben.
mealy apple's a Macintosh,
It's a mealy apple.
and then the half-eaten one, let's say, is a pink lady.
A pink lady.
Oh, yeah.
Those are really good. They're
They're
from
out there.
Australia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben, what was your point you wanted to make?
Oh yeah. As a bald man, Ed Harris
Oh, yeah.
is looking real fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
He
I
looks
think
great.
I'm gonna go for an Ed Harris kind of look.
Has Ed Harris?
should go for
You
an
really
Ed
should.
Harris.
He's still got that
He's sinewy.
hay-colored
Yeah.
hair. Like,
Yeah.
he's got the horseshoe, but
Yeah.
it's like hay-colored.
I did have that thought watching this where, like, did Ed Harris ever have a full head of hair on film, or did he pretty much hit, like,
I
already?
don't think I ever remember that.
And I was watching this, and I was like, he would actually look bad with hair.
I think he's one of the few.
His head
Yeah.
is so perfectly shaped. And I think his face would look small if he had hair.
Yeah, he does have a tiny little lemon face.
He's got a tiny little lemon face. Lemon face Harris. What had Ed Harris done before this? What was like the direct lead up into this movie for him?
Earlier.
Well, I was
Ed,
about to
he
give you
does.
some Harris.
Okay,
I was
yeah.
gonna get. So he's
Master Antonio's on a roll. Bean is Cameron's guy.
so he's in some stuff, and then I feel he's in like Knight Riders and like weird shit in the early
Okay.
80s. Then he's in the right stuff, which he's fantastic.
Oh, right.
That's
Right.
83
Okay,
as John Glenn,
yeah.
and then he's
Fantastic
in
in that movie was notably a big flop, but he's phenomenal in
big
it.
flop, but
Yeah.
he didn't get an Oscar nomination, did he? But he really deserved it. I think Sam Shepard
Shepard's
gets
the only
honor.
one who got the nomination.
But you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Then he's in Swing Shift. He's in Places in the Heart. That's like a big
Okay,
role
yeah.
with Sally Field,
Yeah.
and she wins an Oscar. He's kind of not. He's kind of just coming up.
But this is a big
He's
step.
in that movie, that Alex Cox movie Walker,
Oh, right.
which is a cult hit, but
Yeah.
certainly not a big. And he's in Jackknife with
Oh, yeah.
Bobby D. He's like the second lead in that, the sort of the angry Vietnam vet movie.
But this was definitely a big step to make him the lead of
Big
a sci-fi temple.
Yeah.
Like, that was an unconventional choice.
Glenn Ross.
That is
Was
that.
he in
I think
Glengarry?
that's the year after. He is in it, but I think that's the year after, right?
Glengarry Glen Ross is 92.
Oh,
92,
no, he's not the boss. Kevin Spacey's the boss who gets
Yeah.
pissed on.
Yeah, he's the hothead. He's the Ed Harris type in Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
No, after this, he's in like State of Grace. Then he's in
Right.
Glengarry Glen Ross. He's in The Firm.
He
But I
gets
feel like
fucking
it's
4
90.
Academy Award nominations.
Hidalgo.
Well, it's Well, that's a lot later.
Yeah.
Hidalgo.
Josh was just doing the math in his head to double check that he was correct.
Bone Tomahawk Hidalgo. I don't even know if he was in Bone Tomahawk.
Apollo 13 is when he, I feel like, is just cemented as
What's
like
that about?
One of our finest characters.
so good in that
Have you seen
movie.
the first 12 Apollos?
No.
Yeah, it was a sequel to that. It's just,
Okay.
That's his first nomination, right?
That is I think his first Oscar nomination. He's nominated for that, Truman Show, The Hours,
Right.
and I feel like there's
I
another
think
one.
There's a fourth one, but I'm forgetting what it is.
Did you say Pollock?
Oh, he's nominated Best Actor for
and
Pollock.
Ben Pollock,
sure.
that's
Yes.
right. Yes, he's
Yeah.
nominated for Best Actor.
Yeah.
Let
But
me
that's
guess,
it.
Apollo 13 set in space. Because you know how they do that with franchises? They eventually put them in space.
Yeah, the 13th one they finally go to space.
It was
Yeah.
Apollo 1 teen, Apollo preteen, Apollo Pantene,
Cool. I gotta see
Apollo
these.
trustees.
Wow. I'm
5 comedy
totally
points.
out of the loop.
I'm trying to, but he's never won an Oscar, which is a crying shame.
Yeah, and it's
he
also
should have won for
interesting-
Apollo 13.
It's interesting that he had a good run of stuff in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And he's done good work since then, but he has 4 nominations all within like 1991 to 2000.
2003 is his last one, or 2002. 95 to 2002 are his
Oh,
four
He
oh,
nominations.
never
Howard.
won.
Okay.
He never won.
So it's less than 10 years he gets 4 nominations.
Sure. And he could get another one if you... I feel like
I think if they do an Apollo Ovaltine, I think he might
That's- I
actually.
think that's the one.
Apollo
Yeah.
Ovaltine.
He's just... oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I think that's supposed to be
He's
real
settled
spotlight.
into a bit of a boring groove.
Yeah,
Like, he's great in Snowpiercer.
sure.
But, and he's really good in Westworld, which is out right now.
Yeah.
And, but it's all these sort of, I don't know, reserved kind of old guys with who are haunted, and they only have a couple big scenes. I don't know, controllers, all that shit.
Let's put Ed in a corner, shoot him out in 2 days, and have the least amount of yelling. I think is how they look at it.
I do think
That's what
he's
they do
one
with
of
these
those
older guys.
Oh,
That's what they do with. I worked with John Hurd. That's what you do with John Hurd now. Not that he's anywhere close to Harris, but
Yeah.
you put old grumpy dudes in a corner
Yeah,
and
you
shoot
just
them
get
out.
shoot him out. You put him in one location.
Do I get to wear a cool wig?
I do think there's something where he's one of those guys, and this happens to a lot of character actors like that, where they'll get a stack up of a bunch of Oscar nominations a short period of time.
Yeah.
Never happens again, right? They never get the eventual win, and the nominations stop happening. And I think he is so consistent that we really do kind of take him for granted.
Yeah.
You look at something like Snowpiercer, and it's well, that's Ed Harris. Of course, Ed Harris is great. He's doing the thing he does well. He's good. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
But if that was a performance from a guy you hadn't seen before, you'd be like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
That's for sure. That's
or
for sure.
If it was even coming from an actor you hadn't seen do that before. But I think he's never really given a bad performance.
No.
And even when he does a lot of paycheck stuff. He'll be the heavy in a lot of shit.
He'd be a heavy. He's happy to do.
Run All Night, the Liam Neeson movie. He's fucking great in. But it's just they showed up. They paid him $5 million. He did his work. They shot him out.
He's in Pain and Gain. I barely even remember him.
He's
in that one.
really good in all these movies,
Yeah.
but he does a lot of movies that aren't as good as he is,
Yeah.
and he does
does.
good work in them.
He should direct another movie. Pollock is good.
Yeah, he did a Beethoven movie, I think, that barely got released, and he went on a whole public tirade about United Artists had fucked him over on the movie.
Yeah, copying Beethoven.
Yeah.
But he didn't direct that.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
I think he
just
directed
started.
one other movie after Pollock. Am I wrong about that?
The postman always rings twice.
No, that's
Jack
the Nicholson one.
Nicholson.
He did Postman Always Rings Thrice.
That's
the
right.
one that he
Because
did.
I thought he also did the postman always things mice. And I know it doesn't make sense, but I know he tried to get off the ground.
It was yes, it was sort of a more of a non-narrative, impressionistic version of
Right.
He did direct another movie.
Okay.
He directed
Appaloosa.
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 That's
Not
what you were
Hidalgo.
thinking.
Which, how many apples do you think
Yeah.
that got?
Appaloosa.
Appaloosa was probably 3 out
I
of 4.
think
That's
so.
an open range.
Okay, I just wanna say,
Duval.
That
Postman-
has Vigo in it as well.
Right.
Who I feel like he loves Vigo.
I think they are both sort of irascible, give it all,
And it also-
hyper masculine.
It also
now
has-
I have to look up Hidalgo because I don't know where that came from.
I
Is
think
he
he's in
that?
Hidalgo. I think you're right about that.
Vigo Mortensen is
Is the lead. I think Harris is a supporting.
J.K.
antagonist in that.
Simmons.
Omar Sharif is in it.
I think it's just similar because Vigo's in it and it's a Western.
Oh, Hidalgo? Are you talking about Hidalgo right
Yeah,
now?
is that Harrison Hidalgo?
Joe
I don't know if he's in
no,
it.
he's not.
No.
He's not.
Fuck. But
It's just-
But he saw it. He did see
but
it.
he's in Appaloosa with
Right.
Vigo.
Yeah.
That's why.
Hidalgo was Vigo's big star movie after The Lord of the Rings.
Right.
It kind of, did okay.
Didn't really, but it's like $100 million Joe Johnson movie
big,
that no one
fucking
saw.
crazy movie. Anyway,
Can I just say something before we get off the subject of Appaloosa?
sure.
I get bummed out when I see movies that are that transparently just begging for apples from Neil Rosen. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're fucking modifying your title just to get a good Apple score, that's a little sad.
Indeed.
So The Abyss came out in 1989.
He was the voice in Gravity. All right, sorry.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's like a little Apollo 13 joke,
Yeah.
right?
But the film's not successful. It does, I think, $90 million worldwide on $70 million budget. Was released in the middle of the summer. They thought it was going to be a big blockbuster, and it opened at number 2.
It was released in August, which is the later end of the summer. So maybe they had some inkling like, okay, we shouldn't put this up against the biggest players.
But I'll say August is also historically, Augie Doggy is when you release like kind of your more like serious-minded
I suppose,
adult
back in the
blockbuster.
day.
You know,
These
it's like
days
you're
it's-
sophisticated. You're sort of you're green grasses.
You've tipped your hat 3 times.
Yeah.
You've tipped your imaginary hat
Yeah.
3 times.
You release a Bourne in October.
Certainly,
you know.
I mean, he made Aliens like, he's making a big sci-fi movie again. Like, of course they thought it was going to be. I mean, yes, the actors are not, but Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio was pretty big.
Yes, most
Physically.
definitely.
No, she's a pretty slight one.
Yeah, she's
want
a
to work with Ed Harris now. My heart is not big enough for my body.
Mary, can
Andre the
you
Giant? Is that
Mary
what you're
action? Hi, how are you? She just completely changes. She's Ant-Man.
But the heart just doesn't change shape.
Uh-oh,
Yeah, right.
my
right.
heart is on the same shape.
She's the opposite of the Grinch. I do think, you know, the other thing with the August though is like this movie is very much a movie for grown-ups. Like this is not a movie a kid would ever want to watch.
It's not R-rated,
Right.
But it should be.
It's
Yeah.
what divorced dads took their
This
daughters
is
to.
yes.
This is a
in
movie
1989.
about getting divorced.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
Amy, you want to go see? You want to go see a Bice? I'll get you a cherry soda.
It's a real dad movie too, as well, because
It's
it's
a
all
total fucking
Yeah.
dad. You know, it's like
There's all
John
this
Cusack
fucking-
and Grace. That guy loved Abyss. Does anyone know
guy,
what I'm talking
the
about? That
character-
character probably.
in that widely seen film.
John Cusack in Grace loved the Abyss. That's the only divorced father character.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't he a
divorced by
widower?
death.
Yeah.
Widower.
Divorced by death. The greatest divorce of all.
Coming to CW11.
Yeah. Cause for divorce, Grim Reaper.
Just Patrick Warburton shrugging
She was divorced from this mortal plane. Patrick Warburton plays the Grim Reaper.
with a Sith, just shrugging.
I
don't know.
We're going so deep up our
know.
asses on this one.
It's fine.
like the Abyss, we're doing a deep dive. I just think this is a movie that like is very. I think it's interesting that James Cameron only gets broader after this film. This is like his most sort of mature, serious-minded movie. You know?
Yeah.
It's very long. It's very
I feel
obsessed
like
with process.
it
It's
is.
about characters who cannot express their own emotions.
It is. It's also like angry at like the state of the world,
Yes.
but in a sort of undirected way that's not like doesn't clearly really express it, except for a very like basic. We should all not nuke each other, sort of. I guess.
Which,
like,
you know, I agree with.
sure,
Yeah. Good point, Jim.
I guess so.
Yeah, agree.
Good job.
Yeah.
So, but like
Cold
the
War and the
first,
Russians.
the first hour of this movie is the really haunted hour where
Yeah.
like it has that whole long sequence where they're exploring the crashed sub and there's all
Yeah.
the corpses floating around.
That's
It's
the
just
thing.
so
This movie
grim.
just has this pallor over it where you could
Ugh.
see how Fox was like, okay, this is a big blockbuster,
Sure.
but this is an adult play. Like, this isn't like a family, like, have fun at the summer blockbuster sort of multiplex kind of movie. This is like, we're going to engage the minds of like sort of
on
turned
action.
on
A
grown-ups.
crab will crawl out of your mouth underwater.
Right.
Actor number 3.
Right. You know, this is like, you know, that's what it is. And it takes a long time for like sort of the big flashy, like, popcorn visuals to happen, and even when they do, they're sad. Like, it's a sad.
But it was a better payoff than Contact. Like, at least
Yes.
you got a glowing butterfly alien out of it, not David Morse. Like, I think,
Yeah,
at least there was a little bit more of a
I
payoff.
agree.
And they typed to each other, which was a thing.
And the effects on David Morse were really bad. They hadn't perfected David Morse yet, so he didn't quite look photorealistic.
Right. Well, they didn't quite Simone David Morse yet.
Because there are a couple scenes where it's clearly like a stop motion puppet, and then there's an animatronic.
In fact, this is a clip from the original screen test for Contact with David Morse Holly Jolly Foster, Holly Jolly Foster, Holly Jolly Foster. Okay, we
They
have to shut
couldn't
it
get
off.
him to learn a character's name. That was the biggest
Yeah.
problem. Was he kept
He
on
just
referring to the
recognized-
actors.
Well, the
by
facial
name.
recognition was I have to
Because
call
he
her
had
by
seen
her
the
real
accused.
name.
Of course, he
hell
knew who
is
Jodie
happening?
Foster was.
He'd already seen
Yeah.
Nell, and he had to call her a real name.
I ducked out, and I don't know what's happening.
Identify Jodie Foster, actress.
I like Contact.
And we're back. I dug that clip up for you guys.
Thank you very
No
much.
problem.
You like I like Contact.
I like
too.
Contact. I like both of these movies. I think
It's
they're
funny,
very
similar. I saw Arrival the same day that
Oh.
I saw this movie, which is
Oh.
excellent.
Excellent.
It's coming
Arrival's
out.
excited to
good.
see it.
So,
Yeah.
but it's very similar to this movie in theme, not in presentation.
That's Denis
Yeah.
Villeneuve.
Dennis Villeneuve.
I like that guy.
I love him. I
I
didn't
like
see
his
Enemy,
pictures.
but I heard about this.
Oh,
fight.
you would love Enemy, Josh.
I really wanna see
I
it.
like that guy, and I think this movie is me thinking like, all right, he's got the goods. You know, before then I'd always been like, oh, I like your style. but I
Arrivals
don't know.
is satisfying. It's satisfying.
It's very sad.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
my
yeah.
sci-fi
Because they
sci-fi.
sacrifice a goat to a hand or whatever.
Sure.
To a hand alien.
Yes.
Uh,
There's a thing. This and Contact are very similar movies in that they were like directors coming off a huge like mainstream 4-quadrant successes, doing like serious-minded.
time to do my talkie.
Right, and it's like this is my like serious technical sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like even when aliens come into both films, it's not very fantastical, you know? I mean, The Abyss gets there in the last 10 minutes.
Right.
And I guess Contact does at the beach, but other than that, it's like kind of real world, hard
Yeah,
sci-fi sort of
philosophical.
Yes.
stuff. Yes,
talkie.
serious-minded actors, like
And
that
this
kind
is
of thing.
honestly barely a sci-fi movie,
Right.
Because the
A lot of it's
sci-fi
just a
part of it is like,
submarine
well, there's
movie,
some
yeah.
aliens,
Right.
like, and they don't they must have to live underwater, like
Yeah.
on their planet.
Are you
Like,
guys privy to this longer cut where the
Yeah.
aliens were more malevolent and controlling the waves and
Yes.
were going to flood us all? I
That's-
didn't even
that's-
put that together.
that's this
That's
cut.
on this DVD.
I
That's
did-
the cut that I watched. Yeah.
I didn't even put
So
that together. I guess I just never saw that
the
version.
the extended cut, which is like half an hour longer,
Yeah.
also includes at the beginning a lot more talk about like the Soviets and
right,
like
the end of the world.
yeah, just to sort of
A lot of
just to
foreshadowing.
set that up. It's sort of that was all cut out of the shorter. He only had final cut on this movie if it was 2 hours and 15 minutes long. That's why.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Jesus.
But I do think, like, you look at this in Contact, and both films were, like, very hyped up, kind of met with, like, yeah, it's pretty good from the critics. Didn't really do that well financially. Certainly made no Oscar imprint. And then both, I think, have kind of gained steam over time. And I think the difference between this and Contact is a little glossier
yeah,
in a way that I think hurts its serious-minded
but
ambitions.
yes.
This movie's very steeped in just sort of this pallor of, like, work-a-day, fucking sad
Yeah, well, he
sack.
likes roughnecks. He likes,
Yes.
you know,
Blue collar.
he likes the guys who are.
drillers.
But I'd say this is the roughest he's gone. I mean, I think it's kind of like
Yeah.
you compare this to Avatar, certainly, you know, which is his next like Roughnecks movie, and that's when you're going like really, really broad with it. And this, he's really steeped in like it just fucking sucks for them. Like all these guys like look shitty and they smell bad and
Yeah,
they're
it's
sad, you know.
Yeah.
The ensemble's good. They're like,
Yeah.
they look
One of
good.
them has a pet fucking rat. You
I know,
sad
what a
sack
weirdo.
of
Jeez,
shit.
get so worried about the
Weirdo.
rat.
But I'd also say this is like weirdly kind of his least emotional movie. Like it's so bottled.
I don't know about that. This is a pretty emotional movie at the end.
I think it pops at the very end.
The resuscitation was the only thing. I mean, I saw it on a plane recently because I thought, why not? It's the length of time to get to Los Angeles.
I love a long movie on a plane for that very
Yeah.
reason. You know what? I'm going to watch this whole movie and then we're almost going to
Yeah,
be landing.
and also type.
I once watched Avatar twice on a plane to London for that very reason. I was like, 2 Avatars is going to get me to London, and it did.
I took a trip. I flew to Australia once,
Oh my god!
which is crazy.
What
I
an
did it
awful idea.
when I
It's
was
like 9 avatars.
It was like 9
Yeah, it
avatars.
was a bunch
long.
of
Yeah, it was
avatars.
like crazy. Yeah, and they didn't even have avatars at the time, so they were saying that, and the measurement of time made
Yeah,
no
yeah.
sense. One of my best friends from middle school moved to Australia, and I went to Australia and stayed with his family for like a couple weeks, which was really fun. But flew to Australia by myself. I was in coach with the rest of coach had been bought out by like a school trip. It was like a college
Oh,
group or
God.
something. So I was like literally in the middle seat, in the middle aisle, in the middle of coach, surrounded by like 20-somethings, and I was like 13 or 14, and they were all like high-fiving each other and doing whatever. And they like played like, 8 movies or whatever over the course of the flight. And I remember that it was just like I would sleep during different parts of the flight, and whenever I would wake up, the movie I had wanted to be awake for had just ended. And then like the shitty movie would start. And twice I woke up and they were playing League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. They played it twice on one flight.
Oh, what a nightmare.
Like they were like, your in-flight movies are going to be Runaway Jury, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Geely, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It was the only one that was repeated. But they just screened League of Extraordinary Gentlemen 2 times within 8 hours.
God.
Yeah.
I've never seen that movie.
From New York to Orlando, you can watch 3 episodes of House Hunters on the Garden Network.
Is that with ads or not? Is that like a 22 minute
22
or a half
mins?
hour?
Oh yeah, with ads. Yeah.
Okay, so you could probably fit 4 in if you're watching on like an iTunes and you have
That is
22-minute
true.
cuts.
I use the provided TVs on JetBlue, but if you've got access,
You got it, flaunt it. Is that what you would say, Ben?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
say that all the time. Also, Curb Appeal's a good show.
From Here to Dubai is 91 high-maintenance web videos.
Yeah, you can watch the entire web series 3 times.
You can watch all of College Humor originals to get to Philippines.
How many originals do you think? Because now they like list them on IMDb as if it was a TV show, like every short you guys
Blow
ever
my
did.
dick. Ugh, God.
But is it like
You've
900?
got as many credits as Ed Harris.
Yeah, you have as many credits as Ed Harris just
Really,
from
I
doing
know.
that many
It's
College
like
Humor originals.
2,000. But it's sectioned like a TV show.
Right,
So
the-
it's
the
like
show is called College Humor Originals,
You know,
right.
2,000 episodes.
Right. That's the thing, because I have like 3 episodes of College Humor originals, which
Yeah.
makes it seem like I just
You
did
play
like 3
George
videos.
R. R. Martin a lot.
I do.
Yeah.
And I
I
don't
mean,
even
like, it
sound,
just
I
it
basically
credits you as mostly George R. R. Martin.
But the George R. R. Martin I do on College Humor, to get on a tangent, is basically
Yeah,
Charles
I think we could use a
Durning.
tangent. It's been a little while.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your Charles Durning impression.
I think it's.
Interesting.
I've just realized, like, I
on.
didn't even look up.
give us a little.
I didn't even look up George R. R. But it was like, he talks like this, and I also don't know anything about Game of Thrones. I don't know any of the names.
Yeah,
so
that's better.
So, Targaryen and the dragons. So he talks like this. And talks about things. And but you could very easily say, "Get a job, Sister Lebowski. Get a job, sir."
That's a very good
What makes a
Durning,
man?
and I had never heard anyone do a Durning before.
Maybe I
Durning's
should
great.
do that for my Snatch Tap.
100%.
Looking for a new one. All the people that know Durning. Follow it with a Richard Griffiths, who's also fat and died, but not British.
Let's do all the great dead fat guys.
Hey, it's Ventura. Oh my goodness, Ace. Oh my goodness, the History Boys. He always would lead in the title of a movie with "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, he was a pro.
Oh my goodness, Ace Ventura too.
Have you ever seen that TV show? I ask you because I know you lived in England. There was like a TV show. By the way, we're talking about The Abyss, 1989.
Yep.
Do you ever see
James
that
Cameron.
TV show? James Cameron. Do you ever see that TV show that was like Richard Griffiths is a detective who starts a meat pie shop?
No, I have not seen this TV
But then
show.
they come to him and they're like, dude, no one's as good as you. And he's like, look, I'll do one more case, but I want to make the meat pies.
And he's licking his fingers for 6 minutes.
It's called Pie in the Sky.
No,
he
it's
runs
not.
a meat pie shop. Half of each episode's about meat pie shit. I remember seeing the trailers for it on some like BBC DVD I had, maybe like a Mighty Boosh DVD or something.
This was happening when I just moved to England. This is a mid-'90s show. Never heard of this.
But there's this.
I've heard of Rosemary in Time, and I even saw Rosemary in Time, in which there was about 2 gardener women who were in their 60s who also solved murders. Rosemary in Time. Rosemary
That's
in Time.
a great title.
Yep.
I'm gonna misquote this, but it's a moment whenever I first saw this trailer on DVD, I rewound it and watched it like 6 times in a row. And it's something I found so funny. I've never been able to like bond with anyone else over this.
40 episodes of
Pie in the Sky.
Do you know what these are called, by the way, just to give you, this is an actual term for the genre. There's lots of these kinds of
How
shows in
good is
Britain.
that poster too?
They're called cozy mysteries.
Cozy Mysteries.
They are.
No.
It's basically, it's like mystery shows where, like, don't worry, there's not going to be any funny business. There's no sex stuff here.
Oh
like,
my God.
So I'm gonna misquote this, but there's a part where they ask him at the end of like this DVD trailer they play, and the song they play, the theme song is so funny. It's like, da-da-na-na-na-na, da-da-na-da-da-na. It's this like jaunty jazz kind of thing, but they go like, what is it that draws you back to mysteries? And he's like, well, I just love when all the elements come together in one
I
moment
see where
where it
this
all
is
makes
going.
perfect sense.
no,
And
don't
what
say
his chef
ingredients.
from the background goes like cooking, and he goes, what? Yes. Yes, exactly. Like he's realizing for the first time that his two passions are one and the same.
You'd think that I'm showing you two posters,
Oh my god!
but this is
Zoomed in.
the same fucking. I mean, there's literally a poster within the poster. I guess
Because it's the poster for his meat shop,
Yeah.
his meat pie shop.
Oh my!
This feels like a good time to announce that our next miniseries is going to be going through every episode of Pie in the Sky.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. So in 1989, James Cameron made The Abyss.
So The Abyss is a movie.
Yeah.
It's about an abyss
Yeah.
in the sea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Beginning
There's
of
a submarine. It crashes.
That's the beginning of the movie, crazy submarine crash. One of the main guys who keeps on going like, "Sir, it's getting closer," or whatever, looked so much like Michael B. Jordan that it kept on throwing me off.
interesting.
He looks like identical
I
to
don't
Michael B.
think
Jordan.
I picked up on that.
I looked him
Okay.
up. I think his name's like Michael Beach or something. And present
Oh,
day,
it's Michael Beach.
Is it Michael? I think
That's
yeah.
a real actor.
He's a real actor.
Was he? I'm going to look it up now.
I didn't
Michael
look
Beach
up
is
his
a
other
great
credits.
actor.
I'm sure I've seen him in other stuff.
Yeah.
He looks totally different in this movie
That's
than
crazy.
he looks today, but looks identical to Michael B. Jordan. Has the same
Wow.
Michael B. Jordan mustache.
Really?
Like the shape of their face. It's also he's
Yes,
mostly
Michael,
shot.
Michael Beach is in
It's
this
Michael
movie.
Beach.
Wow.
He's mostly shot in profile, so I don't know if it's just like at that age, at that time, at that weight, with that like hair and
Wow.
mustache. From that angle, he looks like Michael B. Jordan, but it like kept throwing me off.
And
to
I
be
believe
like,
his line was something to the effect of, Captain, I'm chronicling some activity. And he looked at camera and winked for 6 seconds.
He said, "Hey, this leak certainly isn't fantastic for us."
All right, that was good.
He was like, I'm back. I'm number 45 now.
Oh, I get it. Because the number was
of
retired.
Regardless of
Oh,
your
oh, oh,
creed, everyone can work here.
He was in ER, Michael Beach. He was in ER.
Okay.
He was the guy who gives Nurse Boulay HIV, then comes back, gives her hepatitis. He's a real jerk. He was her husband. He was on Third Watch for many years,
Okay.
if you remember Third Watch. And he's recently in Pitch. He's the
Oh.
dad.
Oh, how is Pitch?
It's a little pitchy. No, it's fine. It's fine.
12 comedy points.
It's no hitch.
Oh, no.
It's no hitch.
It's no hitch.
And what is? But I paused the movie and went to IMDb to be like, was Michael B. Jordan's dad
Well, I
an
think
actor?
Michael B. Jordan might have been a zygote when this movie
That's what I was
was
saying.
made,
I
yeah.
thought like I must be looking at his father because of splitting image. Anyway,
shit.
talked about that
So
enough.
he's freaked out by what he's seeing on the radar here, right?
And they're going crazy and they're like man the hatches, and it very quickly becomes this thing where it's like they know they're doomed
Oh, yeah, they're done.
and they're just trying to sort of make it as painless as
I
possible.
don't understand why the aliens took out that submarine.
I don't either.
And did they ever explain that?
No.
No, they do not.
'Cause-
It just has an encounter. With,
They have an encounter and then
Right.
they're all dead.
Yeah.
And they're all dead.
And then, Ed types to the butterfly in the end. And
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about that.
Yeah, it's a little
just the
odd.
inciting incident. Look,
Whoa.
It's the inciting incident.
maybe whatever. It reacts with hostility because it doesn't know what's going on. I don't know. Like,
Sure.
we don't have to think about this.
Right.
I guess the movie doesn't want us to think about
Right.
it.
That's Michael Beach's job to think about it. Anyway,
Yeah.
they fail. Cut to now. Here's the big ship. Chris Elliott's on it, throwing out some
stand
spice.
in the place where you live.
They weirdly play the Get a Life theme song.
They do.
And then they sort of go like, okay, this is Trapped at the Bottom, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. Everyone's like, oh boy, this one.
Yeah, they basically are like, she shows up and like, oh God, what a bitch! Like they just start like, oh, she's the worst.
Yeah, and you're
call
not
her
even
a bitch a bunch.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not really paraphrasing.
No,
they directly call her a
they-
bitch.
yeah.
A
And
bunch
while
of
like,
times.
her nickname is
resuscitating
like-
her, he calls her a bitch. He's a fight you bitch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Her like nickname is like the bitch.
Yeah.
Like they don't really think too hard about it.
Nope.
Now, James Cameron has a type of female lead in his movies. I would say like Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio is a little Sigourney Weavery, a little
Cheekbone
Linda
brunette.
Hamilton.
Nothing good, nothing better than
Yeah.
cheekbony brunette.
like he likes to write these women who are whatever, like they can play in a man's world, or
Right.
like it's a little old-fashioned, I would say these days. But I guess in the '80s, it's still like kind of unique, I guess.
But here's
But
an interesting thing.
he's laying it on way too thick.
He's laying
with
on
this
way
one.
too thick.
Way too
and now,
thick.
of course, knowing me and my history, I'm going to want to view every element of this movie through the divorce angle.
Right.
But I do think his female protagonist is usually a sort of like hard-headed, strong-minded, stubborn woman who is ultimately correct. You know?
Which is exactly
Oh, sure,
what
you're
Gail
saying-
Ann Hurd is, believe
Exactly.
it or not. And Catherine Bigelow there. Exactly.
Exactly. But in this movie, she's kind of everyone's like, you don't need to You know, everyone's kind of like, okay, take it down a notch.
Right.
And it doesn't feel like she ultimately proves them wrong.
Right.
I feel like the movie ultimately is like, yeah, she needs to take it down a notch. Like, this feels like...
so much so that she should drown herself.
Right. This feels like the one movie where, like, he makes the woman, like, his female lead get kind of soft at the end. And it's like, there's a little bit of, like, the Jurassic World thing in this movie.
What's the Jurassic World thing?
Where it's like, oh, she's the businesswoman, she's a careerist, and everyone's
you need
like,
to relax.
She's
family,
not like
relax,
that.
relax. Not to an extreme degree, but more so than all his other female protagonists.
My problem with this movie is like when she arrives, they set her up as like, this is the one everyone hates.
Yeah.
No one likes her.
Right.
And then she shows up and everyone works with her fine. She sort of integrates
all
with
like
the
her.
crew.
Yeah.
I guess she's mean to Michael Biehn, but Michael Bihn's a problem.
But then she has a monologue about her 5 brothers and why she had to fight for everything.
Yeah.
I just, it doesn't, to me, it's like, it's too obvious or something. It just, they're just, I don't know. Why is, but the divorce shit is interesting.
It's
No
interesting.
doubt.
I just think this was the one time where he was feeling weird animosity. You know, like I mean, we've always theorized that like because it's all about strong mother figures for him, that he clearly his mother was important in his life. He doesn't really talk about that.
Sure, this is not that.
This
right.
feels like he's not making a movie about his mother. He's making a movie about his wife that he's divorced.
I guess, especially again, you know, the movies around this one are both about mothers. Like Aliens and Terminator 2 are like those are
All about
mother
mothers.
characters. This is not. This is a wife character.
right.
Yeah, and some of the deleted dialogue includes "You're a bitch, Gail," and they had
Gail
to
Ann.
obviously, "You're a bitch, Gail Ann Hurd,"
Right.
my wife.
But
and then they
let's
cut
not-
out the David Morse robot entirely because he couldn't stop saying that.
Let's not forget that like the fucking he saves the planet by typing "love you, wife" on his little typey his little speak and spell.
Right. Yeah.
So
these aliens
the aliens are just so touched by the fact that his power glove.
Imagine what they do if they saw a sext, you know? They called off the waves just for "love you, wife." They saw a sext. These guys might give us a
I
fucking...
mean, they would have saved so many humanity.
Saved us so fucking hard.
Yeah, they would have given us a whole other planet.
Saved us like
saved
2
the
or 3
galaxy.
times. Yeah.
Okay.
So Ed Harris is like has like an oil rig.
He's like the
He's
foreman
underground-
of like an experimental deep sea drilling rig or whatever.
Right.
It's kind of like
Benthic Petroleum. There's still a Facebook page.
Okay.
apparently.
all right. He's
Okay.
kind of like this is kind of like Armageddon but realistic.
Yeah.
It's like it is how this would actually work. It's like, well, we need a oil rig, so we're going to commandeer you guys, and you guys know what to do. Rather than like, yeah, let's put you guys in space and train you to be astronauts because that's easier than like teaching someone to point a drill at the ground and turn it on or what. Like, yeah,
It is very interesting that like I kept on comparing this to Aliens and Avatar because these 3 movies are very similar, right? They're the sort of grunts on a mission.
Yes, they all have the
movie.
grunty. Yeah,
and they're also like 2 different forces coming up against each other.
that's very true.
Kind of
But you can
movies.
also put it in the Piranha 2
Yeah.
Abyss Titanic
Sure.
axis.
Speed control.
It's well, it really is the nexus of like
Yeah,
all
we're
the different
making
Cameron
crosses
things.
with our
Yeah.
hands right now.
Yeah, other than the mother thing, it like covers all the main Cameron elements. But what's interesting is there's a thing he does a lot in Aliens and Avatar where it's like first hour of the movie is really just hard setup. You know, not exposition, but let's lay down the character pieces. Let's lay down sort of the story points to pay off later. And that's sort of alternating with getting to understand the technology of the world. You have all those scenes in Aliens and Avatar before they really like disembark and get into it where it's like, here we are in the hangar, you're seeing everyone operating all the stuff in the background, you're understanding all of this now through just sort of like exposure therapy. So at the end of the movie, it all pays off. And he does that here, except all the technology is real.
Yeah.
Like, it's fascinating that he's got these real things. Like, he clearly just fell so in love with deep-sea diving. I was like, well, this shit's better than any shit I could make up for a movie.
Right.
And it is amazing when you just look at the fucking, like, the little pods and everything, and the suits look insane in this movie, and you have to imagine that none of them were, like, designed. They feel like they're just the real thing.
Everything in this movie was made for this movie.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean,
But I think
obviously
based
with-
off of
absolutely.
yes. I mean, they had to make them because they
Well, that's
couldn't use the actual things.
They had
cost
to put
like
an
$100
LED
million.
in the face
Well,
mask.
also,
Right,
like,
right.
well, no, but even, you know, you can only make these things in so many. They have to be
Yes.
weird, boxy, like,
Right.
creations. Like, you
Yeah.
can't make a sleek
Yeah.
underwater thing and then actually have it underwater and, like, bashing into another
with
underwater
nipples.
thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
some of them did have nipples.
They are.
is true.
They had a lot of nipples. They're very utilitarian. All the shit in this movie, like it looks cool, but it's just real. And I think even if they made all this stuff, they're not fantastical designs. He's not
No.
plussing the technology.
No, he's
of
not
the
at
time.
all. It's just
Yeah.
happening right now.
Yeah, and
Now-
it is cool. You're watching the process of how they do it, and even
It
just
is
the woman
cool.
with the cowboy hat.
Oh, she's
you see
cool.
her
What's
mining casually. It's like this is a cool world. These people
Lisa,
live in.
One Night Standing.
That's
her
a
name.
good character.
But I was talking to Benny about how fucking long this movie is. And the
Producer
director's the
Ben
big old Benny.
Yep. No, we don't have to do that again.
Big dick Benny. This
hey.
movie is 170 minutes long in the director's cut.
Yeah.
And I was just saying, I'm like, if you just said the plot of the movie, it wouldn't sound like it's long.
No.
Because it's just like they go under the water, they find some aliens, bad guy tries to do something, they stop him, and then they meet the aliens. Like, it's not complicated.
You could say the same thing about Avatar. And it is this thing, I think, starting at Aliens, James Cameron becomes a 5-act structure guy.
Sure.
And not only is he a 5-act
he's
structure,
like Shakespeare,
but he's doing 5 acts at the full length of what a 3-act movie would be. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like some people do 5-act structures.
And you
like,
just squeeze it in.
Yeah, because like Rushmore is like a 5-act movie, but it's like an hour 40.
Yeah,
you know?
this movie's
They're
a lot
like
like
short
Rushmore.
acts. The movie's very similar to Rushmore. I thought it was weird that he put like the velvet sort of curtain intertitles in between each scene.
The handwritten index card title.
Yeah,
cards.
it was whimsical.
Right, the above, like perfectly
loved it when
aligned.
Ed
And Bill
Harris-
Murray reaching back and hitting his kid in the little submarine.
Very odd.
Yeah, and Ed Harris made the OR Scrubs joke. That was funny. He
That joke
landed
is
it.
so good.
It's
That's such a good joke.
And the girl from Ronin.
Your favorite movie, right? That's your number one.
My absolute favorite.
Yeah, number
when
one all time.
Stellan Skarsgård captures the soda that falls off the table. Holy shit.
It's a great movie.
And De Niro driving fast.
Let's do a Frankenheimer pod.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. We'll do them all.
Ooh, good
Pottenheimer.
call. Lot of split diopter.
This is a 5-act movie, and he really likes.
This is a 5-act episode.
This is a 5-act
Sorry.
episode.
Yeah, this is going to be a short one, remember?
we all-
Standing.
I think the key is anytime we say we're going to do a short one, it ends up being long. We need to start saying we're going to do a long one. Maybe we'll get out of here in like 25 minutes.
Right. That'd be good.
He does these 5-act movies. So A, he's telling a lot of story, and he has these different sort of beats. But B, he also just likes fucking immersing you in a world.
He does.
Like Aliens has all that shit too,
And which
where
is
you're
like-
just like. There's no real character dialogue.
The
You're just
aliens
watching
don't
them
show
load
up
up and
for an
try
hour.
out the shit, you know?
In Aliens, the aliens don't show up for an hour.
Terminator 2.
In Terminator 2,
the
they
four main
don't
characters
meet
don't collide
for an
until an
hour.
hour.
Or
Right.
45 minutes. But in The Abyss, that whole sequence that I was talking about earlier where they're exploring the sub and they're finding the dead bodies and they're looking at the nuke, like, missile silos and all that shit. You know, like, you don't need it to be quite as long as you do. It's not informative for the plot. We already know the sub's down there. Like, but it's good. It's to me my favorite part of the movie. Actually,
and it is sort of like, you know, there are a lot of things that James Cameron does that no one else does, right? I mean, because he's an obvious punching bag. There are a lot of things you can easily sort of slam him for, right? And we're obviously Cameron defenders, but there's the thing of like he goes so broad, the dialogue's clunky, his stories are so elemental, he ribs so much from like other shit. But it is like, I mean, that's what the fucking Avatar thing. Like the whole thing is he's somehow able to actually just like kind of place you into these worlds.
Okay.
And just through like the fucking minutia of the day-to-day.
I'm with you, but we got to move on. Jesus Christ.
Well, I was trying to do what he's doing in the movies by
No,
doing that in the podcast.
I'm going to kill you.
Stand.
Please keep doing that, though.
The place that you live.
It's the end of the world. It is the end of the world as we know it in this movie.
100%. So they go down, you know, we got to hire the people. Oh, fuck, it's my ex-husband. They go down
You've
to the
still got the
thing.
ring. He's got the ugliest fucking wedding ring I have ever seen.
But useful.
Very useful for stopping a pneumatic door
Yeah, and
closing on
nothing
your
else.
hand.
Yeah.
It's like a nut, like a giant screw nut.
Yeah, it looks like a testicle. Oh, no, a screw nut. Yeah, no, that makes more sense. Yeah.
I don't know.
Square.
His blue arm, though, influenced Avatar.
That is true.
Yeah.
The toilet hand. That's when James Cameron first had the idea
He
for
tosses.
Avatar.
That's actually a
true.
great. I
I
forgot
read
about
that
that. It's a
somewhere.
great scene.
His
He tosses-
eyes rolled in the back of his head, and he saw everything. Kind of like when the food
For
critic
context,
in Ratatouille.
he tosses. She comes onto the thing. She points out, "Hey, you're still wearing our wedding ring." And he's like, "Yeah, well, we're not officially divorced."
Yeah.
Then he like tosses it into the toilet, and then he's like, "Fuck it." He
Gotta
puts his
dig into
hand
that
back
fucking
in
toilet.
to the like
Yeah.
weird blue liquid that
Yeah.
like Amtrak toilet liquid, you know?
Yeah.
And then pulls it out, and he's got a blue hand. Just for the context, people are not going to see
Yeah.
this movie.
People are going to watch. Oh,
No.
yeah, it's hard to
No,
watch.
they're not.
That's the problem.
Like, that's
Right.
the thing.
But yeah, so, okay, all of that, they get together. Oh, we're going to go down. We're going to look at the submarine. Everyone's dead. It's really fucking unnerving.
Creepy.
And some weird shit starts happening.
Is the military with him at that point?
They
Did Michael
are.
Yeah,
Because
they
they're
came
like
from the get-go.
commandeering,
Gotta.
and
Yeah.
then there's that big like disaster. Like it all goes wrong.
Yeah.
What the fuck is it again? It's like the thing
It
crashes down on top of them.
collapses.
The crane
Right.
crashes
They're
down on
stuck.
top of them.
Yes.
And Michael Biehn, who is Michael Biehn's playing
He's the Navy SEAL
Coffee,
guy.
Hiram Coffee.
He's sort of the guy, the military sort of point man who's overseeing the thing.
and
He has a mustache.
He has a real
He has
mustache.
a
Can I
mustache.
say this too? Anytime he was in a wide shot, especially because as pre-established, I was looking for character actors who became big later in like the margins of this movie. I was like, there have to be people. He looks a lot like Joe Pantoliano with the mustache in this movie.
Really?
In wide shots,
I
I
don't know.
kept on thinking.
Well, he
His
is
hair's
wearing a
receding.
beret. He is wearing a
he's
beret.
wearing a beret, and I kept on thinking we were wearing a pair of pants.
And well, we weren't.
We weren't. That's the thing. I kept on thinking we were. I looked down. I was
We
pantsless.
we were eating some beans.
We were eating some beans.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. Yeah. So no, but he's a dick,
He's a piece of shit. In this
and I
movie.
feel like
Mental dick.
it's good because it's like the last two Cameron movies. He's the hero. He's a nice guy.
he's the sweet boy.
And
We
in
also have
Aliens-
established too that one of the crew members has a mean right hook.
Yeah.
Yep. The hammer.
We've
The
also
hammer.
established that one of the crew members has
A mean
nice.
rat.
Oh, I was gonna say a nice rat. And also Michael Biehn. They foreshadow a lot. He's there when they're talking about sort of this madness that can happen.
Yeah,
this
you
sort of
go underwater, you can go
psychological-
crazy. It's like space
The
dementia.
pressure gets to you and
Yeah.
all the signs.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is basically a space movie.
Yes.
I mean, like,
Underwater.
right? It's just underwater.
It's upside down space.
The other thing I want to, I'll get to that. No, I'll get to that.
It does
later.
feel like that was his.
I have a
pitch
point to make.
to Fox was like, oh, space aliens.
Yeah.
In water.
Yeah.
What if I did water aliens?
No, it's a good pitch.
Right.
And The Abyss, great title. No one ever had that before.
And it
great
feels
title.
more grounded because it's like any sci-fi
That
thing where you
opening-
have to go up already is like straining. Like, well, we haven't been able to do this and find any life.
Sure.
To go down feels like, oh, that's possible.
Less wire rigging. It's great.
Yep.
And the title has two S's. That's two money signs.
Yeah.
That's true. That's how he did
true.
the pitch.
That's how he did the pitch for Aliens.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, The
Wrote
Abyss.
alien, then put the S, and then turned the S into a money sign.
If
that
you
was
rearrange the
apparently-
letters, Sabzi. I don't know why, but
Sabzi.
Sabzi,
Well,
though.
no, because one of the studio executives was Sabzi.
yeah.
Everyone knew him as
Sabzi
Sabzi.
Films.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm almost
Sabzi
done, I'm
Films.
almost done, but one more thing.
the
Yep.
great Sabzi film.
Richard Evans' ex-husband. So yeah, he loved making movies.
So they flood the
Sabzi
rig.
Phillips.
There's an accident. They flood the rig. Some
Right.
people die. Michael Biehn doesn't seem to care.
Hammer is like caught behind the door, and they get him out of there, but he's in a coma.
Everyone's bummed out.
Yeah.
Then Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio is just hanging out
Taking some
outside the
pictures.
sub,
She's just chilling
and
on
like
top
a
of it. Yeah.
pink jellyfish like sort of swirls around her.
Looks gorgeous.
Looks cool. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Guess what, guys? There's aliens underwater." And everyone's like, "Shit, you're
Fuck
right."
you, bitch.
They're pretty much on
She's
board.
getting some of that. She's getting
Yeah.
a little bit
She's
of
getting
that.
a little bit. I
Ed
guess
Harris is like,
Ed Harris
get
is,
the fuck out of here.
but it's when the tendril shows up. I guess.
Yeah,
It's
that
the tendril
happens
scene.
like 40 minutes later. She like says like, they're like, what are you getting at? There's like a 10-minute scene where she's like, it was weird, and they were like, so what are you saying? And she's like, I haven't seen anything like that before. And they're like, out with it, and she's like, don't think it's from this world. And she's like, okay, keep
Yeah, right,
keep
right,
going.
right,
and they
right.
eventually get to this Netty thing where it's like
Yeah, non-terrestrial intelligence.
Oh, hey guys, I was wondering, did James Cameron invent drones?
No,
I don't think so.
What do you mean?
Because they're water drones.
They are water drones.
No, I mean,
I'm gonna kill all of you.
They are water drones.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you from Philadelphia? What do you say, Wooder?
Ben said it. I was copying Ben. Ben had a touch of the Philly there.
I say it like that.
You say it like
and
that?
I don't, I'm fine. I say it like that.
Well, New Jersey and Philly are kissing cousins.
Sure.
You guys kiss, right? New Jersey and Philly?
No, fuck Philly.
Okay, well, she tells them about the Netties. They don't totally believe it, and then
But then this
water
alien tendril comes up. But look, when the tendril comes, there's still an hour and a half left in the movie.
We're at the halfway point of the film,
If that, we're
Right.
not even. And it was the first like real CGI effect in a movie.
and the big thing is, it
basically.
looks like Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and then Ed Harris. Like, it's not super detailed because it's water,
Right, it's a water snake that sort of like goes up to. It's like a column of water, but then it turns into their faces.
Which is exactly what CGI was capable of doing at that time.
right, like
And then, like
mimicry.
Terminator 2, it's like, oh, you can do a liquid guy. You can't do fine detail. I mean, it's why when Pixar was like coming up with their first movie, they were like, toys, everything's gonna look
everything's
plastic.
flat and
Alex
plastic.
Mack, you're a puddle.
Exactly.
Oh.
CGI
But
puddles.
she wears a hat.
Yeah.
She does.
Alex Mack wears a hat.
Puddle hat.
A beret.
Puddle hat, though.
Sometimes.
But that was CGI at the time. It was a puddle industry. I mean, people were all about CGI puddles.
Yeah.
And Cameron was really at the forefront of that. Tendril comes in, looks fucking cool.
That's-
wins him the Oscar immediately.
So
like for that one scene.
the wins
Yeah.
the visual effects Oscar.
Right.
Yeah, the point I want to make, and I'm stealing this from Peter Labuza, my buddy Peter Labuza. You know him.
Not personally, a big
PDL.
fan of his work.
PDL.
Yeah.
He said that this is the closest Cameron's coming to making a Spielberg movie. Like, this does sometimes feel like lots of big reaction
emotion.
shots. This stirring, in my opinion, completely terrible score by Alan Silvestri.
I like the score.
I hate
but
the
I'm
score.
a Silvestri fan.
I like Silvestri and other stuff. He just doesn't match the movie at all.
Alan's one of the people who said he'd never work with him again after this.
This is the problem.
Interesting.
Horner does this great score for Aliens, hates working with James Cameron, says, I'll never work with you again, eventually gets coaxed back for Titanic.
Yeah.
When James Cameron calls him and says, I want to go back to Titanic. It's a great scene.
Right.
And it's in the movie. But
Alan.
but Horner'd be fucking perfect for this. Like, you need
nail
a more
it.
haunting score.
Yeah.
This score's like jaunty.
Yeah.
Like, at times it's like, oh, la, la, la.
There is
They're
at the-
under the water in
At
the
the end, it
bleak
gets way
darkness.
too jaunty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I read also that when they went back like 4 years later and did the special edition, Alan Silvestri refused to do scoring.
Yeah, they
for
had
the
to
edition.
do- a new guy
a new
did some
guy did the
scoring.
other 30 minutes.
I like Silvestri.
I like him a
He's
lot.
got
How bad
some
could
great
that have been?
scores.
Like Cameron in the room going like, you're wrong? I mean, just disagreeing with his flourishes?
No, I mean it's so.
How could you like be angry at your composer?
Yeah, it's very odd. Silvestri, for my money, the only guy who has done good Marvel scores. I think the only two good Marvel movie scores are the ones he did. I don't know why they didn't keep using him.
I think too expensive. They use cheap composers
That's
who will
probably
just reuse themes.
Yeah, and they.
I disagree
Apple
with
loops.
you though.
Really?
I think there are a couple other good Marvel scores. We can talk about.
I
them
think
later.
it's Captain America: The First Avenger and Avengers are the two that have distinctive themes.
The themes are good in those movies.
His themes are really
His
good.
themes are good. The scores are fine. I think Henry Jackman's score for Winter Soldier is great.
I think it's okay.
No, it's really good. And I think there's another one I kind of like, but there's a lot of bad scoring in Marvel
Guardians
movies.
is okay.
Tyler Bates, it's okay. It's
Anyway.
Stand in the place.
Oh, Michael Stipe's score on Thor: The Last World was fantastic.
Really good.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was just him saying, Thor.
Ragnarok in the Ragnarok. I'm sorry, I don't think I can do it.
He quit halfway
I
through.
quit.
The one track, and they just weirdly kept it and looped it throughout the entire
Right.
The
film.
whole movie
Ragnarok.
loud, like really loud. Like they have to shout over it. All right, okay.
That's the other thing. It
They were
wasn't.
playing it on set.
They didn't even just add it in post. They were playing it on set. Yeah.
No, in every
Stan.
scene, Thor has to have a boombox on his shoulder playing that fucking loop.
Taika Waititi insists.
The D battery budget on Thor: The Dark World was completely out of control.
Mjolnir.
Loki is taking over.
Okay.
Hamdale on the Rainbow Bridge.
All right. Okay.
That one matched pretty well.
Idris Elba. All right, no.
That hit the meter, though. Hamdale on the Rainbow Bridge.
Handle on the Rainbow Bridge.
I hate you. I love you, Josh.
All right.
I'm your best friend.
I know, we're good.
We're the two friends.
We are the two friends.
Yeah.
We're great.
We're great.
Are we supposed to make it through to the end of the describing?
Well, look, come on. Come on, guys.
The goal. I mean, that'll take 2 hours. I mean,
Okay.
the military come. The tendril comes up. There's a storm. They're very
yeah,
upset.
there's a storm. Do we see the storm?
You sound like a
They're just-
concerned grandmother.
No, I think she
The
drowns. She
storm,
insists
she
on
drowns.
sacrificing.
Yeah, it's like I'm
herself.
calling you on a Saturday, and you're
sounds
like, I
like
saw
Dave.
this movie, The Abyss. Look. And then-
The hot one's in it, Ed.
oh yeah.
Grandmas
love
love
Ed
Ed
Harris.
Absolutely.
Oh, they love a
Because
side
he's
of
like
Ed.
the world's youngest old man.
Oh, he is. Because how old is Ed Harris when this movie's
In
made?
this movie,
70.
my guess is 33.
No.
My guess is 33,
No,
and I think
that's
he looks
so
54.
young.
No, he's
No.
38.
He's
he was born
38?
in
Okay.
1950.
Oh wow,
So he's 38. Okay. So he looks basically age
he looks
appropriate.
okay.
So
yeah.
shit starts to go wrong. Michael Biehn goes crazy. He starts carving lines into his arm,
yeah,
kind of out of nowhere.
yeah,
But that's pretty cool. That scene.
yeah. It's cool, and he has a really good chunk of performance in here.
He does. It's
Yeah.
a fun little part where he basically decides the alien tendril wants to take the nuke. I don't know. So
Yeah.
they have a tactical nuke that they took from the sub.
Well,
Someone
this
made a
whole-
really good
yeah.
point that he was at that Coffee actually thought what he was doing was good,
Uh-huh.
and that's kind of what made it fun. But I don't care.
Well,
yeah, you don't side with him because he's so crazy. I mean, if
Yeah.
he didn't fucking
He had
cut his
hand-
arm,
yeah.
like
he had
then
a hand
maybe.
on a gun the whole time.
Yeah.
too.
The movie has this like Red Scare thing going on where they assume it's the Russians, and then they realize it's the aliens. His
Right.
kind of logic is like, well, they're like Russians
They're the
times
enemy
two.
too. And this
Why
is
wouldn't-
important
yeah.
to the point Cameron's going to hit us over the head with later.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, we can't just assume, everyone's our enemy. You know,
Yeah.
we can't just
Right.
fire nukes at anything we don't like.
Love trumps hate.
Yeah.
Love trumps hate.
So they.
Hashtag.
And there is the thing earlier where he
Register to vote, guys.
decides to go down.
Yeah.
he decides to go down to get the warhead from the submarine,
Sure.
and in doing so, endangers the entire crew.
He does, right.
Leads to the death. That's the thing
that triggers the crane collapse or
Yes,
whatever.
right.
It's all, yeah.
But so they're
This is
already
the
like,
one
"Fuck
Cameron
this guy."
movie where sometimes you don't really totally know what's going on.
And
even though he's
yeah.
still good at the spatial geography stuff, once in a while you're like, wait, what? Who's this? Where
the
is
whole
this
time
happening?
I was
Like,
watching this and I liked the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't wait to watch this 2 more times over the next 8 years.
Yeah, right.
Like, I think with 4
Oh,
years
that's
in
what you'll
between
do.
each viewing,
I
I'll
get
really...
it. The rig's on the seabed, but
right.
then there's the trench.
Yeah.
So he puts the fucking nuke on a little drone, a sea drone,
Uh-huh.
and it's going to go down and blow up the aliens, I
Todd
guess.
McGuire, Sea Drone.
Yeah, exactly.
Sea Drones Kid with Jeff Bridges.
Well, it sure is fast.
Oh, that was good.
I know.
That's one of
Did you
his
see
best.
Hell or High Water?
No.
Oh, you'll love it.
He's so good in it.
Is it like No Country, but he's in it?
Yeah, it's like a funny No Country for Old Men with
It
Jeff
is?
Bridges is the most hilarious racist you'll ever
He's
meet.
the
No.
funnier version of the Tommy Lee Jones cop, who's just like, Tommy Lee Jones is just sad and is like, I don't understand these people.
I had
Yeah.
a dream.
Yeah, that's what it's like.
It really is like that.
buddy.
It's you got to see it. Let's all go
There
see
was
it
an
right now.
N-word in it like that. It's like that.
Yeah.
He's mostly hitting on Mexicans though, because
I
it's Texas.
got
He's got a Mexican Native American partner.
Correct.
And he slams
Correct.
the
and
guy.
he's just fucking
hard.
ripping into the guy the whole movie.
Yeah.
And maybe whatever. I mean, the
Don't wanna
guy
spoil
is
it for you, but
good,
it's
so
Dude,
and
it's
like
good
gives. It's great. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Good
And
movie.
it sounds like I just said there's this movie where he's a racist and
Yeah.
it's great.
You
but
gotta go see it.
It is a good movie.
It's a fucking laugh riot.
It earns everything it does.
You like
I
it,
think.
Griff?
I really
I
love
liked
that
it a lot.
movie.
I liked it a
Okay.
lot.
I
Yeah.
really like that
yeah.
movie.
Anyway, we were talking about the
All right.
Abyss.
When does he type the alien?
Well, so
Okay.
So then I just want to say there's that big fight where they're both in the like boxy submarines.
Right, that's what I was saying. So Bean then
And they're
is
kind of like
doing the
crashing
arm,
into each other.
Bean's
It
doing
just
the
doesn't
arm
work
cutting,
for me.
and he's got the warhead, and he's like, I'm going to bring it down, blow up the alien.
Yeah.
And that's when they're like, fuck, stop this. There's like an 8-minute like
It's long.
fisticuffs brawl in
Oh, yeah,
the water
that's pretty
before
good.
that.
Where they're like swimming up in the moon pool
Yeah.
and like whacking him from behind.
It's a well
That's fun.
staged, dramatic fist fight, but it also feels very incongruous
Now,
in
then
the movie up
after
until
the
that point.
hammer knocks him out, he comes back and then he gets in the thing. And goes
Correct.
Well, that's the fight scene where that all
Yeah, because
happens.
the hammer
again.
wakes up from
the
the
hammer
coma. and
fucking
That's right.
clocks him, and he
That's
goes like down.
He's been gone for like fucking an hour and 10
yeah,
minutes.
fucking an hour and 10 minutes.
He's been fucking for an hour and 10 minutes in coma state. And then right. So that's the fisticuffs brawl, then fucking hammer, and then they get into their pods, and it's sort of like a race to the bottom of the ocean to see if he can stop him from blowing up the aliens. They succeed in doing that in that they stop Michael Biehn, but then he goes to the bottom.
But that
and the
seems
Warhammer's
pretty
there.
cool when Michael
seems
Biehn
great.
implodes, basically.
That was
That's
great,
pretty. When
yeah.
he's in the sub and it's just going down and the water, the
It's like
glass
yeah,
cracks.
just God
You're just
soda
like,
can.
"Ah!" Just that's very cool.
But now it's like they just, they drop their keys like through the slats of a porch, and they're like, "Oh fuck, we got to go down and get
Yeah, we
that
gotta
bomb."
get that fucking bomb now. It's
Yeah.
on like a little. It's like teetering on
Right.
like a cliff.
Right. So then it becomes this weird pink water. Let's put
No.
Ed
You're
Harris-
missing. Come on.
Which part am I missing?
Because again, the movie's so fucking long. You're missing the whole scene where Ed and Mary are in the other submarine that sprung a leak,
Jeez.
and she has to drown. Like she has to force
get to
herself
the
to
top.
drown so that
She
they can
calculates
leave.
that her blood will freeze, and so
Right.
she won't die. And if he can get her back to dry land within
They
10
can like
minutes,
revive her.
Yeah.
It's that scene is tough to watch. It's really well
upsetting.
done.
And it's I have always said
And he's so good. Ed Harris is so
yeah,
fucking
that
good.
was that.
Yeah.
That is the hands down
yes.
hard to the movie.
And she's
It
really
is.
good
It
in it
is.
too. The freak
No,
out,
she's
because she
fantastic.
does the steely sort of, this is the right thing to do. You
and
have
then
to trust me.
but at the same time, she's like, "This is so cold.
Once
I'm
it's actually
so
happening
scared."
and she
Right.
realizes like she might not wake up, the death panic kicks and she nails
Well,
it.
that's the thing. You can't actually make
Wait,
yourself
wait,
drown.
Right,
Like,
right.
yeah,
You
that's
can't
and they
do it.
nail that.
Your innate like survival instinct is going to override that.
Oh god.
I've always said that, and this was the one Cameron movie I hadn't seen, but that the most sort of viscerally effective moment he had ever put on screen was when there's the moment that's like this in Titanic. I'm fucking forgetting where it's placed now, where they're trying to stay just above the water and the gates You know what
Yeah,
I'm
of
saying?
course, of course I know that
Right.
scene. Yeah,
The
yeah,
end.
yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. Yeah, the end of Titanic. It's when they hit the iceberg. But he just has such a sense of water and everything, and the tension of like drowning
He's so
in that
good at
ear
it.
is
But
so
this is where
visceral.
he's really learning it. You
Right.
know.
And I
Apparently,
almost
by
think
the way,
this
that's
scene is more effective.
well, it's an incredible
Titanic's a
scene.
better movie,
but
but this
Titanic
scene's
has
incredible.
like
Yeah.
a lot of these types of scenes.
Right.
This is the scene for The Abyss.
Yeah.
Apparently, when they were going in to shoot it that day,
Yeah.
James Cameron was like, wait, so how do I do this without killing them? Like, they had to think for a while because he was like, I don't know
I
that
think he
there's
was kind of like, oh yeah, the water will be warm. Turn it all the way down.
Yeah.
And bring it in fast.
Yeah. Don't cut.
I think
No matter
yeah,
what.
I think he was like,
God. Anyway,
If
but then
Harris starts bleeding, don't cut.
he drags her back to she's freezing. There's like a 10-minute CPR scene. He's screaming at her. He rips her shirt open. They're shocking her. They're backing her chest. They're slapping her face, calling her a bitch.
Not to be inelegant.
it's a fucking lot.
Not to be inelegant. Slapping them titties.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. It's all,
electrifying them.
Yes.
titties.
oh,
Yeah.
Jesus. And that's the scene where she freaked out and was like, I'm not shooting this
But
anymore.
when does he type?
Well, then he types.
Yeah.
Look, he's gonna almost immediately. She wakes up and he's like, "All right, give me the pink thing. I'm gonna go down with the pink thing. Give me a typey thing.
Can I throw out a question quickly?
Typey pinky."
That's right.
Well,
I gotta go get
almost
them still. I gotta
immediately.
go get the bomb. That's
Is them trying to resuscitate the drowned,
Marriage.
shirtless Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio scene the least
The least
sexual
sexual
nude
topless
scene in
scene.
history?
Pretty much. I mean,
Ben, what did you
she's
call him?
bone white.
Yeah.
I called them trauma titties.
Yeah, she has those
Thank
trauma
you.
titties. Fuck. We
Thank
could
you.
get think piece to death.
Stan.
Great. Thank
And-
you. Lock the gates.
Lock the gates.
Yeah, come on. Go lock the gates.
Can you hold on 1 second here? I just want to take a sip of this. Blankcheck.coop. Here, let me. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Lock the gates.
No, but what was the next thing you were going to say about the movie?
Oh, Ed Harris.
Sorry, you can't control it sometimes when you shit your pants.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what Ed Harris. Oh, by the way, also James Cameron told all the actors they had to just pee in their wetsuits if they had to pee.
Oh, cool. Must have been
'Cause it
a
was
fun
just gonna-
smelling set.
Because it's just going to take too long
Bunch
to
of
get him out of the
moldy,
water.
pissy actors.
I just love the idea of someone bringing their kids to like set to be like, you want to see daddy work? It's like, why does it smell like Ed Harris's urine?
Why did Ed
has a
clock
very-
James in the face after a take where his resuscitator didn't work?
Why is everyone crying? All right.
Mom, what's a breakdown?
So we've been introduced to this shit earlier. It's real. This
Yeah.
liquid that you can breathe.
Insane.
It's only been ever used on
Oxygenated
Yeah.
fluorocarbon.
Boom.
Crazy.
When Josh came in today, he said, "So, when are we going to talk
We're
about
doing a
oxygenated
podcast about
fluorocarbons?"
oxygenated fluorocarbon.
Yeah.
Now, and the movie's science logic is like, hey, we breathe liquid
First 9 months of our life?
when we're in utero, which is not true. We do not
No.
breathe.
Right.
But our lungs are full of liquid.
Yes, but
So,
we're not
you know.
breathing per se.
No.
They're saying, hey, it takes a little while to adapt, but once you do,
That seems pretty
Takes
great.
a panicked while to adapt.
That
Yeah.
fucking
pissing
that
and
scene
shitting
is
yourself.
seems
Ed Harris
incredible,
kills that.
too.
It really feels like they are
Yeah.
drowning him in pink water.
this chunk of the movie is when the movie really has some momentum, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
giving you these really fascinating
Which
set
is
pieces.
great
Yeah.
because the set piece is just like they drown him in this pink water,
Yeah.
and then they're just like, okay, you're just gonna go straight down.
And let's mention,
We're just like tying bricks to you, so you just go all the way down to the bottom of the ocean.
within the real time of the movie, this is happening half an hour after he punched his wife into
and they
life.
basically said they love each other.
Right.
Like they're back together.
Like one person just drowned themselves on purpose and almost didn't make it back, and then he's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do that thing now too.
let's admit, like maybe that's his thing. Like it's
Yeah.
like the movie is that nightmare, right?
Right.
And James Cameron's like, right. And at the end of it, me and Gail are gonna figure it all out, right?
Yeah.
Like it'll work out.
Yeah. But it feels forced because, as we know, that wasn't what happened. Like
Yeah.
it's
No,
like
he
that
shacks
wouldn't
up with,
organically
Linda
happen.
H.
Video Village was definitely quiet.
Yeah. It was,
It was a quiet Video Village.
So then he goes
yeah,
down.
I think
Any
good.
notes?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Guys, stand.
And
He goes down to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Turns off the nuke. Cuts a wire.
Well, text a lot. They put a lot of weights on there. Like
There's a
you're
lot of
going
texting.
down,
Tap,
baby.
tap.
He's doing a reverse Jefferson's.
Yeah, he's not getting a piece of the pie.
He's moving on.
he's moving on
He's
down.
moving on down and not getting a piece of the pie.
Someone else is eating it. Not only is he not getting it, they're giving it to someone
Chris
else.
Elliott is eating
Chris
it up
Elliott's
in
eating
the
the pie.
Mission Control.
I am eating Ed's pie.
And it's in the shape of Ed Harris's face.
It's so,
Yeah.
there are a lot of weird choices in the director's cut of the movie.
A lot of weird ones.
You have Chris
Do
Elliott.
we really need to add the pie scene? And Cameron's like, it's essential.
You have
It's
Chris
essential.
Elliott singing revised lyrics to the
a
theme
song that
song
has
to
not
a
come out
sitcom
yet.
To us
that hadn't
in
premiered
4
yet,
years.
eating a piece of pie in the shape of his co-star. It's a good movie, though.
I
It is
insist.
good.
I'm sorry. I want to take that back. Stand had come out. The song.
But
been
Get a Life
released.
had not come out.
No,
Yeah,
but the
right.
song is
Yeah.
released 8 months before The Abyss.
Chris has had the song in his head until
Maybe
1994 when he
yeah.
got the show.
That's why I think that
Maybe
was his
he
idea
had
for the show. He
REM's
worked
great
backwards
album
for
Green
Yeah.
on his Walkman.
Yeah.
In between takes,
Yeah.
he's listening to Stand.
And he's like, I got a great idea for an opening. If only I could write the rest of a show around it. I see myself standing and waving while this song plays. And he worked backwards from there. They put a bunch of weights on him. They send him reverse Jefferson style down. And he's got this little text thing, and he's in the pink bubble.
Nintendo Power Glove. He tells his wife he loves her.
Yeah.
By the way, I do not believe that he could text that legibly on that fucking tiny thing with like a glove hand.
That
Come on.
huge glove finger.
It's a big glove hand.
I like the typos they
No,
put in. They
I
should
do
have
too.
done more.
But it is, I'll admit, it's very cool, just the whole idea. The
Yeah.
idea that they're just watching like this slow typing.
Yeah,
like,
that was cool.
That he wrings tension from that. It's very
And
cool.
I love that, even just the introductory thing where they're putting the goo in his helmet and he's getting used to that. And they're like, okay, test out the texting thing. And he's like, this feels
Giving
weird.
thumbs up.
You should try
Feels
it.
weird. Yeah.
And then she
It's
goes,
like,
I just
oh.
did. It is this thing, though. I felt this again watching this, and it's like through to Avatars when it changes, when there's still fucking low-res video screens. Cameron mines this weird tension out of like beautiful, like 35 millimeter like film, cutting to some scratchy screen, whether it's text that's pixelated or like security footage. It just makes me long for the days where like you could cut to someone
Right.
watching a video
We
and
talked
the
about
video
this, but yeah,
quality was
right.
lower than the quality of the film you're watching rather than the exact same quality. We've talked about this before, but it's a real sticking point.
Well,
for
what do
me.
you? How do you feel about the quality of the aliens like surf wall that they like throw up?
Oh.
When they like change the channels and
But
stuff.
that's fine because it's magical.
I know. So he meets he's gonna die.
That's it, the first HD television.
He's gonna
was
die.
the Alien Surf Wall.
Yeah. Now you can buy it.
He
He's
turns
gonna
it
die.
off. He's got the bricks on.
He makes
He's
his-
gonna
yeah,
die. He's
he
gonna
makes it
pull a
happen.
Tommy Lee Jones in
Now,
Space
he
Cowboys.
thinks he's going to die because he's running out of fluorocarbonated oxygen.
He is.
more.
He's only got
Right.
5 minutes left, and they're like, "Yeah, you can make it." He can't make
And he
it.
decides he's going to pull up Bruce Willis in Armageddon.
Nah, it's Tommy Lee Jones in Space Cowboys.
Josh, you have to come up with the third one. You have time, but just think about it. So he is texting with her and is like, I knew this was a one-way ticket.
Love you, wife.
Love you, wife.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's so inelegant that it's kind of beautiful.
No, I like it. It works. And then
It's
of
like
course,
Ned Flanders in that Simpsons episode when the comet's going to come.
Scott Speedman and the Strangers. No, I can't.
boy.
I can't.
Wow.
does he
Just
make it in
way
that
off.
one? I can't even remember.
Oh, baby, he does
not.
No, he's
No,
an early
he does
death.
not.
And
Yeah.
not only
Yeah.
he doesn't make it, he kills his friend with a shotgun before.
Oh, that's right.
Glenn Howerton,
It's
right?
Glenn Howerton.
He
It's Glenn
shoots
Howerton,
Glenn
right?
Howerton from Always
From
Sunny.
It's Always Sunny.
Glenn Howard.
That's
yeah,
who it is.
It is, right?
Yeah, that was like
Dude.
season 2.
Dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a good one.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it is Glenn Howerton. I couldn't remember if it was Glenn Howerton in the other
I
one.
need to see what that
Yeah, no, it's
director's
Glenn
been up to.
As he's texting her, and then, oh my God, who shows up? Wouldn't you believe it? It's these motherfucking netties.
Those netties.
These netties.
As Josh put it, they're little pink butterfly aliens.
Little pink butterfly.
They kind of look like the
Blink-
Independence
little
Day
blinking
inside
fuckers.
aliens.
yeah,
They're sort of sitting in a little chair, and they got little arms.
typing
right.
things to do in Denver when you're dead.
T-Rexes.
Of course, they're
Right.
working very hard, but they haven't sold it yet. And like they run that by
Yeah.
Ed, so that's why the movie's pretty long.
And he's like, "Man, it's not bad. I could use another pass
Mr.
or
Shh,
two."
maybe I
Yeah.
don't know.
Fogarty.
They show him. The movie sucks. This sucks.
This
It
chunk,
sucks.
the movie, it feels like we've referenced this before, but it feels a little bit like the Mulaney poster writing joke,
It does.
where it's like,
The
oh
greatest.
fuck, I got a lot of work to do, and we're already clocking in at like 2:40. Like we gotta, like I like that the film keeps the sci-fi stuff on the peripheral for so long, but like he wants to end it with some sort of kind of answer,
Yeah.
some sort of definitiveness,
Right.
And in order to do that, he has to make a lot of leaps really quickly.
Let's put him in a curvy room and
In the-
teach him a lesson about the Cold War.
In the original cut of the movie, that's not in it, and it's
Right.
really just they show him. It's the end where they show him the message he wrote to his wife, and
And
they
that's
understand
why-
why they rescued him, and then they take him back up.
Yeah.
But then in the special edition, there's all this shit where it's like, they show him the Cold War,
Footage.
all this footage of horrors, and then they like threaten all the coastal cities in
So
America.
how do they
with
how do
tidal
they
waves?
communicate threatening? Is it video?
Yes, they show a
This
video
will be
that's the
soon.
wave in like no, it's happening.
It is
and then they
happening.
call it off.
All these waves
They go
are
to a
about to
live
crash,
feed.
and then they freeze
Yeah.
somehow.
You see the waves like frozen. It's like 10 different simultaneous like day after tomorrow like super tsunamis that you're seeing people reacting to.
How is the
As it's, like,
effect for
growing.
1989?
Really good. But it also is like he put like $350,000 just into that one thing. Like most of the money they gave him.
But those
to finish
effects
off
are not in the
movie.
original edition.
Right. But I'm
That's
saying
what ILM
of the
fixed.
$500,000 they gave him to do the special edition, most of that went towards just the
Oh, yeah,
waves.
it was just the waves, right? Because they did do it for the original edition, but he didn't like what it looked like. They had like some plastic wavy thing.
Right.
I don't know. Like it didn't work.
Yeah.
He said they mostly
Bunch of
cut it
saran wrap.
because the actors were like, "Why would you cut the wave thing? The wave thing was cool." And he was like, "I didn't cut it for story reasons. I
Just
cut it
didn't
because
look
it
good."
looked so bad. I felt like it kind of like torpedoed the movie."
Yeah.
The wave shit looks really good actually.
The wave shit looks good in in
yeah.
this edition.
And they like show it happening, and then it
then
like
they
stops,
take it away.
and he's like, "Why?" And then "Love you, wife."
Oh.
So they
Love
were
is the
impressed by
answer.
his selflessness.
A
and
couple
you
of
know.
black-eyed blinks, understanding alien blinks, and then
Now,
before you know it, there's
I just want to say,
I think they were just impressed with the
No.
fact that he was able to type that well in those gloves.
it's good typing.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, come on. These aliens, they lecture us about like using weapons against each other to threaten each other. Then they fucking make waves
I know.
to attack us.
Literally.
They're dicks.
Literally making
Whatever.
waves.
And then
Mother Nature.
I guess.
Yes, less litter.
And then there's the weird thing where he starts messaging back to everyone on the ship.
Yeah, he's like,
and they're,
"What's
like,
up?
ecstatic.
Got a surprise for you."
Yeah, and then he starts like
And
reciting.
Chris Elliott starts like crying because he knows he's gonna be mad about the pie.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's like halfway through
Yeah.
the pie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Which
got
we
blueberry
found out
all
behind
over
the
his
scenes
face.
was really just imitating the actress from Close Encounters.
of course, it
and
was
they used
another
the
Millen
take.
Dillon moment.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But he it starts messaging them all these things we haven't heard the alien say. Where he said like, he says he doesn't understand why we fight so much.
Right.
They respect us. They've been down here for years. They never had to interfere before. Now we know what they're capable of. They don't want to do it. Like it's like this whole long monologue when the aliens are just kind of communicating through blinks and video clips through him, you know? And then he's like, just
That
a
isn't
suggestion.
what he meant at all. That isn't
Yeah.
what he meant.
But there's that thing. They're like, they say that they want us to learn to be more peaceful. Just a suggestion. And then Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio laughs really hard. This all happens within like 8 minutes of screen time. Like it's so rushed.
Yeah,
And then
it's very rushed.
And then they bring him back up to the surface.
And the score is like basically jerking us off. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It literally ends right there on the water.
Yeah. It's a Little Mermaid style ending, you know. They're on the
Didn't their
surface.
veiny purple penis
Oh, it
Yes,
comes up.
100%.
submarine come out? And
It
it's like
does.
much bigger than everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all around them.
It's huge.
all
They bring
around.
him up to the surface, and then they also, while they bring him up, they're like, "Oh, we'll take your submarine too." They just take
No.
everything up to the surface.
And did they fly into the air in the end, or did they sink?
I think they go back down.
yeah,
they
they
go
don't
down.
They don't cocoon.
No, they don't
Right,
cocoon.
they don't
Better
cocoon.
score than this.
They don't
movie.
Super 8,
That's a
but
Horner
they do.
joint.
Cocoon is such a good score.
Horner joint.
Yeah, Cocoon is such a good score that people think that movie's better than it is.
Yeah, the movie's not good.
That movie's like a 5, and that score's like a 10, so people think it's a 7.
Yeah.
That movie's like a 5 at
Don
best.
Amici's a 9.
I don't even think he's the best of the
No,
old
he's
guys
not
in the
even.
movie.
He was
It's weird
great
that he
in
won an
Folks,
Oscar.
though. Great in Folks. Tom Selleck's Folks.
I do not know what
he's
that
also,
is.
He's great in Homeward Bound. So box
Look
office
it
game.
up.
We do a
I'm
game on
looking it
this that just shows how much of a broken mind I have and how misplaced my priorities are in life. I try to guess the box office of the weekend.
Folks with an exclamation
Oh.
point. Yeah, so I'm doing the box office game because we always do it, but also good weekend. Got to
Yeah.
say, there's some good ones in here.
1989.
Movie-
Let's point out
just-
year of my birth. This
that
year
is
of my
true.
birth.
When were you born?
Wow.
February.
Okay, so you're a few months old. Did your
Yeah.
dad see this one? Or mom?
I saw this in theater.
Oh yeah.
No,
All right.
I don't think my parents saw this. I don't think my parents saw it.
The movie opened to $9 million, number 2 at the box office. It finishes with 54.
Not good.
Not great on a $70 million budget.
Makes
And-
40 overseas.
Yeah, it's 90 total.
Right.
Not good.
Not good.
So
his one and only flop.
it's his one and only flop.
It
so,
made by Hollywood standards, though. It's like you can still work again. You didn't just.
It wasn't
the Village.
disaster.
no, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was not a
Certainly, he's
disaster.
looking to
Yeah.
rebound.
He didn't lady in the water, but he abyssed in the
Yeah,
water.
He
Yeah.
abyssed in the water. He
And
lady
then-
in the abyss.
And look, he had Terminator go back to him. He was lucky. He had a film everyone was demanding.
It was the
Yeah.
24th highest grossing film of the year,
Yeah, it did all
below
right.
Pet
Yeah.
Sematary.
Yeah.
Basby Phillips
And
was
Sea of
quoted
Love.
as saying, "Thank God."
and Harlem Nights, below a bunch of flops.
Okay. So let's go through
All
this.
right. Number one is it was number one the week before. It has made $30 million. It's a winning comedy.
A winning comedy.
It's pretty winning.
What do you say? It's a winsome comedy?
Very winsome.
Very winsome.
Is it supernatural?
No. It's very natural.
It's not Ghostbusters 2.
There's a conversation about
Oh,
masturbation.
because Ghostbusters 2 is 1989.
It is.
Is that in the top 10?
It's number 15.
Okay.
It's been around for a while. It's made $100 million.
A winning comedy in 1989.
I'm going to ask the other question I need to ask because I know it's the number one movie of that year and the summer. It had already been in theaters for a couple months at that point, but I assume it's still hanging in there. Is Batman anywhere
Number
in the
7.
top 10? Batman's number 7. Okay.
It's made 400. Sorry, that's adjusted. It's made $222 million.
Okay. Number 1 is a winning comedy. This
Winning
is the
comedy. It was
second
Oscar
weekend.
nominated.
Arthur?
Nope.
Interesting.
Fish Called Wanda?
Did it spawn a sequel?
Spawned a TV show.
Arthur.
Still not Arthur.
Okay.
Fish Called
Is it-
Wanda.
Put it this way: an Oscar-nominated actor is in it, but he's using a different name. It's back when he had a different name.
The director.
The actor. He's an Oscar-nominated. He'll later be Oscar-nominated.
Is this when Walter Matthau was still Albert Einstein?
He was calling himself Sting, actually.
Got
No. It's not.
It's not Larry Fishburne.
No, not Larry.
I'm trying to think of other actors.
A
who's
Larry
sort of like-
Fishburne Called Wanda.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
it
It's a
is.
Larry Fishburne called Wanda. You guys
Stand.
guessed it.
Okay, spawn a TV show, and the cast didn't return for the TV show, right?
No.
The lead actor
Fuck,
in the
yeah.
film changed his name later.
He's not. He's a supporting actor in this film.
Oh.
This wasn't when Michael Keaton was Michael Douglas.
No.
When you say
They
name
kept
change,
swapping.
when you say name change, was it like a Dwayne the
First
Rock
name.
Johnson type thing? The first name changed entirely.
It wasn't like a Bob to Robert.
His first name, he was born with one name. He changed it to another name, and he changed it back to his first name. I think I may be. This is like a real piece, but it's true. So
now I'm
1989
fascinated.
comedy, live action TV show or animated?
live action.
I'm pretty
I'm
stumped on this.
so
Yeah.
confused.
I guess I'll give you more obvious.
What was the final
hints.
total? What was the final box office total?
100 million domestic.
Wow, a lot
Yeah.
of people saw this 1989 comedy wherein the lead actor, blank blank, changed his name and changed it back again.
He's not the lead. He's a supporting actor.
Got
Nominated for 2 Oscars: Best Supporting Actress and Best Original Song.
Best supporting actress.
Best original song in 1989.
Comedy. Okay, so Harlem Nights is that
Giving
year.
you
That's
lots
the
of
Eddie
clues. It's
Murphy.
not Harlem Nights.
I know, but I'm trying to reverse engineer. I'm trying to think of.
You're not going to reverse
It's a
engineer
big
anything from
comedy.
Harlem.
Dan Aykroyd is not in this film.
No,
Oh
but
my.
you're close.
Getting
Does
a
it
little-
feature any SNL cast members?
Bill Murray.
No, it features an SNL. He's never officially a cast member.
Steve Martin. Steve Martin. It's the jerk.
It's not the jerk, but it is
Oh!
Steve Martin.
Oh, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Oh my God, 1989. Steve
Come
Martin.
on,
Best
guys.
supporting actress nomination. Steve
not
Martin's
Bly-
in it?
Not
Yeah.
My Blue Heaven.
This is
Not-
crazy, you guys.
I'm like the
And
biggest.
there's a
Not
TV
Martin.
show based on it.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh.
There you go.
We were thinking too comedic. It's Parenthood.
Oh.
Parenthood, my friends. 100 mil domestic in 1989 with Joaquin, then called Leaf Phoenix.
And Diane Weiss gets best supporting actress.
She does. And the song,
Wow.
the best original song that is nominated for an Oscar, I'm looking it up. It's called
Parenthood.
I Love to See You Smile. And I love to see you guys try to guess that movie.
That was a tricky one.
That is a tricky one.
You gave us good hints.
I
That is
did.
a
I
tricky
gave you-
one.
Very good.
know.
That was
Right, and that was
legit.
the Leaf Phoenix.
89.
All right,
That's-
so-
everybody was having kids back then.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of kids in that one.
That is crazy.
You got
that-
Halsey,
Family
Tom
comedy.
Halsey. You got Keanu Reeves. You got Plimpton.
Could you imagine any scenario today
Plimpton.
in which
God damn it.
in which like a sci-fi like blockbuster tentpole movie opened number 2 behind the second weekend of like a winsome family dramedy?
Yeah, right.
Like that
right.
was such
no,
a
that's-
blockbuster.
That was
that
a big
movie.
movie. That
It was
a big
weird
movie.
how big that movie was. Okay, so that's number 1.
Two is the
Number
Abyss.
2 is the Abyss.
Number 3 is the 5th sequel
Star Trek?
in a long-running franchise. No, although that is that year. Star Trek 5 is that year.
Right, which is the Undiscovered Country.
No, Final Frontier.
Voyage. Oh, fuck. Okay, 5th film, long-running franchise. Is it a horror franchise?
Yes,
Is it Nightmare on Elm Street?
it is.
The Dream Child?
Boom.
Thank you. I know this franchise well.
Can you
I
tell
know.
me who directed it?
Oh fuck! It's not Steve Miner.
Oh
is
no!
it?
Oh my God! I got Rennie Harlan.
No. Rennie
Oh,
Harlan
that was-
directed
he did
3, I
He did
think, 3 or
Dream
4.
Warriors.
Wait. Did you say the Dream Master?
This is the Dream Child. There's the Dream Warriors is 3. That's the best one. That's Rennie Harlan.
You mean the best one that's not the original?
Right.
Right.
Or wait, did he do
Dream-
Rennie Harlan? It's Dream
Rennie
Warriors.
Harlan did Dream Master.
Yeah, Chuck Russell does Dream
the superhero
Warriors.
one.
Rennie
Harlan does Dream Master.
And then Dream
Stephen
Child.
Hopkins
Okay.
does Dream Child. You
Who
guys
also,
know.
I think, did Predator
Lost in
2
Space,
and
baby!
Okay, Lost in Space.
And he did Predator 2. He
Yeah.
did The Ghost in the Darkness.
Yeah.
And he directed the entire first season of 24.
Yeah, there are 3 Dream titles in a row. It's Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Revenge, the Dream Warriors,
Dream Master.
Dream Child, and then
Freddy's
Freddy's
Dead, the
Dead,
final
and then
nightmare, which is-
A New
Freddy
Nightmare.
versus Jason.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Freddy
that's
got
number
fingered.
3. Good job. Freddy got fingers. Number 4 is a movie with a dog in it.
Not Beethoven, not Benji.
No.
Bingo.
No.
Not Beethoven,
It
not
was a big hit, made $71 million.
with the dog in it, but was the dog the main character?
He's the
Like-
co-lead. This is a two.
Canine.
Turner and Hooch.
Turner and
Hooch. Yeah.
We were
Turner and
parallel
Hooch.
thinking. It was going to be one of us was going to get it right.
Yeah.
It was one or the other.
Number 5.
Those are both the same year, I
Canine
think.
was Belushi.
Yeah.
And I think
Belushi.
Turner Hooch is the better.
Turner. Hooch.
Number 5 is a landmark, legendary romantic comedy. One of the greats.
One of the greats.
Still
Is it,
imitated to this day.
When
Is
Harry Met Sally?
Nicholson and good God, of course.
When Harry Met Sally.
Harry Met Sally number 5.
Number 5. It's been hanging around for 5 weeks. It's going to clear almost $100 million.
That's an
Holy
interesting
fuck.
top 5.
Isn't it?
That's an interesting
Isn't it?
top 5.
Especially for August.
That's the best part of going through playing this box office game is you realize
Freddy?
like you used to be able to look at a 10 and it
Sleepless?
was like a weird array of different types of movies
Yeah.
that were all doing well.
And the
Yeah.
And now it's like same.
Parenthood?
Here's the thing. The
Parenthood
only
would
Now
go-
it's 5 Marvel movies.
just to give
Yeah.
you the
Parenthood
only
would be number 12 at the box office.
the only opening movies this week are Abyss and Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Parenthood drops 7% from its
Parenthood,
previous.
to be fair, would be a Medea today.
Yes, Parenthood. It would be Medea's Parenthood.
So other movies in the top in the box office.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Halloween. Lethal Weapon 2 is in there.
Okay.
You got
The
Batman.
Deuce.
You
Batman.
got Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Wow.
You got Stallone's Lockup, not one of his better efforts.
Ghostbusters 2, as has been
Ghostbusters
said.
2 is there. You've got a movie called Young Einstein that
Oh, yeah.
I do not know.
With the Aussie kid.
Yeah, it was Yahoo Serious.
Yahoo Serious.
Oh, that's just right. Yahoo Serious.
I only watched the first minute of that film every
Yeah.
time it was on, and then it got horrible.
Yeah.
Yahoo Serious.
He got
The rich man's
electrocuted,
Rick
and
Mail.
then after that- Australia's
Rick
Carrot
Mail's
Top.
a fucking legend, man.
Here he is.
All right. Poor man's Rick Mail. He's a poor man's Rick
Yeah,
Mail.
I guess so. I dropped it. It's a fun movie.
But you guys didn't grow up in Britain. Rick Mail's a fucking legend.
Lording it over us.
All right. Okay.
Little Lord Sims.
You
over
got,
here.
and then way back, you got Ghostbusters, you got Dead Poet Society, you got Indiana Jones and the Last
What a
Crusade.
time.
You've got
A.
License to Kill, the
Yeah.
Timothy Dalton Bond movie.
The last
that's
Dalton
pretty
or the
gross.
first Dalton?
Last Dalton, the one
Right.
where someone's head explodes. And you've also got Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Whoa, James Spader. Is that Mary Mastrantonio?
No, that's-
No, that's
Elizabeth
Andy
Mastrantonio?
McDowell,
Andy
my friend, big
McDowell.
bushy-haired lady, but not M-E-M.
And funny enough, they don't look similar, but I always confuse just name-wise Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and Laura San Giacomo.
Sure, but who's also in Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
That's why I'm saying
No, I
that's
get,
the
no,
connection.
I know, I get that.
For me, Andy McDowell.
for the audience.
Do you think
Yeah.
Mary Mastrantonio, Annabella Sciorra, and whoever you just said just had spaghetti dinner and talked about like all the men they've kissed?
Yeah, I'm sure they have.
All those nice little mouth
Like how
kisses.
many times their arm was grabbed by an Alec Baldwin like leading man back then?
I bet
A
all
little too
3 of them
hard.
have had to kiss Ed Harris.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the gauntlet. Yeah,
So
whether they
on
wanted
there.
to
This-
or not.
Yeah.
I will also want to say this is the number 7 entry in Box Office Mojo's Underwater series,
Phew.
which is movies that feature characters submerged underwater, brackets, non-submarine.
So Crimson Tide doesn't count. U571 doesn't count.
No, it's like all the other ones.
October?
All the ones above it are animated films, like Finding Dory,
Atlantis
Finding
the Lost
Nemo,
Empire?
Atlantis the Lost Empire,
What's the
Little
one with
Mermaid,
Kelsey
Shark
Grammer?
Tale,
What's that one?
Down
with-
Periscope.
Yeah,
but that's a
that's
submarine,
submarine.
movie, baby.
That's a submarine.
That has
movie.
a lot
McHale's
of dick
Navy,
jokes.
Run for the Red October.
Yeah,
Hunt
these
for
are,
the Red
those are
October.
submarine movies, my friend. I'm talking about underwater movies. The only
Oh.
live action movie that did better, Deep Blue Sea.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Anyway,
Oh wow.
so underwater, don't do it, guys.
Well, that has been our discussion of The Abyss.
Oh, it was great.
James Cameron's The Abyss. Next week we're back with Terminator 2.
Yeah.
With my buddy Sam Rogow.
Yeah.
Facing Judgment Day alongside us. We've already recorded. I think it's a fun episode.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It's one of my favorite movies ever. It was great to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2+ hours of us going, that was cool when that happened.
Yeah, but
it's great.
But it is cool.
It is cool.
But yeah, but also it is cool.
There's a Gatling gun. It's cool.
This was cool too.
This was really cool. Josh,
This
thank
was
you so
really
much for
cool.
being
Hey
here.
guys, what a pleasure. Honestly,
I'm so happy you're moving to LA, and it's like I want to make sure we got you on before.
Oh shit, you're moving to LA?
Moving to LA first week in November. I'm gonna have
Damn.
a tan, a rowing machine, and I'm not gonna talk to anyone in New York.
You're gonna you're gonna drink those like green drinks?
Probably.
So that's your main plug, right?
Green drinks.
Yeah.
Oh, moving to LA.
Window washing fluid. You're
What
gonna have a lot of
airline you taking?
coolant. Probably JetBlue.
It's a good one. It's a good
congrats.
one.
I put both of my
Congrats.
cats on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
There's an indie movie in my friend's suggesting or offering that he truck one of my cats to LA with me because it's one animal per person. So he's like, "Hey, I'll fly to New York and fly your cats back with you." So there's like a bro adventure in there.
I think you can definitely get into Sundance
a
Screenwriters Lab.
$50,000
out of that.
trucking cats across America,
100%.
but two guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
Lou and
sounds good.
Davis, but worse. No, this was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you for letting me sing REM for 16 minutes.
Do you want to take us out?
Stan.
What, we got a couple little things to say.
Oh, sure.
Please, please,
'Cause I just
please.
want to finish big. I don't want to blow that load yet. You know, we want a good final stand before we get to that.
Okay. Last stand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Last man standing.
everyone should listen to your podcast, which is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
The Mindhouse podcast.
On the Headgun Network.
Yes, I did an episode, which it really made ripples and waves.
It really was.
It really
was,
did.
It was the best. It was the longest
It's the
episode
longest
I've
one.
done.
That's Griffin.
with
Griffin
the,
is like a virus.
I'm a virus. I make these podcasts long, baby.
and Jamie Lee Curtis's virus would be a really good one to talk
Shit,
to.
we
about
should
Most
do
definitely.
that.
We
Yeah,
should
we should do
definitely
10
virus.
episodes on
We should do 10
virus.
episodes on virus. But listen to the Mindhouse, definitely.
Yeah, please
and also,
check it out.
I think this thing we're shooting now is going to be fast-tracked. I've been hearing maybe it'll be online
Right
in
around
November.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
I
Are you
guess.
kidding me? That is
Yeah.
fast.
So it's
5 editors working on it.
Yeah,
Jesus
it's called
Christ.
Thanksgiving. It's set in Thanksgiving.
I mean,
they want to
sure,
strike
you don't
while
want
the
it to come
iron's
out on
hot.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Chris Elliott and Amy Sedaris
Sure.
are parents
Play
to
our mom and dad.
know, it's crazy.
Brady Elliott, Josh Ruben, Sebastian
Got a couple other
Kennelly,
siblings.
Josh
yeah.
Sharp,
Yeah.
John Reynolds, and
The
myself.
Ticks, Griffin Newman, Stranger Things, John Reynolds, The Mindhouse Podcast, Josh Ruben, and
fantastic.
Battle of the Sexes' Brady Elliott
Yeah.
are in it.
Mhm.
I think it could be really a fun show.
Yeah, also, is this the first pod we have dropping after the Tick got picked up? No, I guess Aliens is dropping, but we recorded that a long time ago.
Yeah, this is the first one where I will have done that.
Hey,
Oh,
congratulations. The Tick
thank
got
you.
picked up
Yeah,
to
thanks.
series
It's-
by Amazon.
I talk
Good
about it
news.
more in the next episode that we recorded.
Yeah, whatever.
Yesterday. Right. But this actually is. Thank you for reminding me. This is the one thing I want to bring up. Got a lot of very nice messages from Blanky's podcast listeners
Love you,
and stuff.
Blankies.
Tweeting and congratulating. Even I just saw, because I still read all the fucking comments because I haven't learned yet. On like stories about the show getting picked up, people being like, "This is great, but what does this mean for Blank Check Podcast?" I've seen a little.
Oh, you've
tremor.
seen
What
some
does
worry.
it? I want to know.
Yeah, that's true.
I
You're
want
shooting
to
in New
assure
York,
everybody.
you
We're
know.
shooting in
Look,
New York.
it's going to become a solo show, just me ranting into the mic.
Don't think Kristen Ritter stopped doing her podcast because she's shooting Jessica Jones.
Yeah,
here. I mean,
no,
Of course.
come
I love all
on.
things considered.
Or
She's
Vincent,
never
or Vincent D'Onofrio. He didn't stop doing his podcast because he was shooting Daredevil.
Every superhero streaming service
Right.
actor.
Yeah.
Um,
Scott Glenn didn't stop his podcast because he's in Daredevil.
He's also in
Stick.
Daredevil. You're
Yeah,
really running through the
yeah,
Daredevil
yeah,
cast. Have you watched
yeah.
Luke Cage yet? It's good.
I haven't. I can't wait.
It's really
to
great.
watch
I was
that.
watching it just this morning.
I'm not going to go on at length about this because we're working stuff out, and
We got
we'll have
time.
more news to announce soon. I think we have some exciting stuff in the pipeline that we'll announce very soon. But I just want you to say, this is a thing that you and I have been aware of, that the show was, there was a chance that it got
And I've
picked
been
up.
actively rooting against your success and trying to
100%.
sabotage you at every turn. But it
right.
didn't work.
It didn't work
The show was too damn good.
for lack of trying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I paid a lot of people off. I'm in thousands of dollars of credit card debt, which is really...
There's a reason why UTA and CAA are in a war right now. It
Oh,
has everything to do with
yeah.
one of the 3 people in this room.
But the point is, headline is...
I was going to say, I set up a lot of dominoes, and now I've got shit all over my hands. Like, I didn't mean to do it, but it happened.
Headline is, show is continuing uninterrupted.
Of course.
I mean, maybe, worst case scenario, you might have a week off or something like that.
No, it'll be fine.
We're planning ahead.
Mhm.
We've been aware of this. We want the show to keep going strong. So, you might get a lot of episodes with references to things that happened 4 months earlier because we're banking them up.
Sure.
But know that this will not affect your ability to listen to the podcast on a regular basis. Yeah. That's all I want to say.
Pod's doing fine, guys.
More exciting announcements coming soon. We'll talk about new series and all this sort of stuff. We got cool stuff planned.
Great. At Blank Check Pod on Twitter.
At Blank Check Pod on Twitter. Josh Ruben, thanks again for being here.
Hey,
problem,
place
guys.
where you live.
We didn't get a burger report from Josh.
Oh, Josh, have you ever seen a
famous
person
eat a
eating a
burger?
burger?
Oh my god!
That's our segment, the Burger
the
Report.
ultimate. Are you
Not to
ready
put
for
you on the
this?
spot. You have one. Oh
This
my
is
god!
the
Wait a second.
most-
This is
Wait a
very
second.
exciting.
Wait a second. I hear something off in the distance.
He has to do the theme song now.
Oh, it's coming closer. Wait a second.
Oh, it's where we're losing it. It's all around us.
The Burger Report.
All right, go ahead.
I was on the Upper West Side.
Sure.
I'd lived in the city for several years. I'd not been too starstruck by the amazing people I'd seen. I'd seen a lot of amazing people, worked on a lot of films as an extra, like
Sure.
background on The Good Shepherd. Saw Matt Damon and Michael Gambon and
Damn.
Robert De Niro.
It's a good movie.
background in The Elf. The Elf picture with
The Elf.
Will Ferrell. With Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, so good. Name's
Ferrell
same
and
twice.
Sedaris, Amy, not David, and not the less famous David, but Amy, and was on at a restaurant on the Upper West Side, and
Bill's
the
Bar and Burger?
most
Which one are we
starstruck.
talking about? No, not
this
Bill's.
it was
What's
like
it-
the Columbia
Sure.
Grill or
Okay,
whatever.
yeah.
And I look over and I hear.
I meant Big Nick's, not
It
Bill's.
was a summer day. We're sitting outside, and I hear thanks for lunch, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I look over, and William Shatner
Oh my god.
is reaching into his fanny pack
Of course he is.
for a handful of cash to pay for the burger he just ate.
Is he paying entirely in coins?
4 rolls of quarters, which is not it's not an expensive meal.
Thunk.
Yeah, that was the most starstruck I'd ever been. It was a summer day. He was wearing shorts, fanny pack, and a button up.
Oh, he
And
sounds
I think he
fantastic.
clearly treated like his agent and his manager
to a cheap
lunch.
burger at the
Yeah.
Columbia Grill.
Yeah, and I was like, I'd seen several stars. That was the most starstruck I'd ever been.
I would be very starstruck by it.
Josh, that was an incredible story.
Thank you
so
for
much.
contributing
Thank
to the
you
Burger
so much
Report.
for sharing with us. You are the first guest, and you were not prepped
Is
for
he
this.
the
You did not
first?
know. You were the first guest to come in
Yeah.
with a Burger Report.
Oh, it's honestly my pleasure.
Yes, that's the segment we do on the show that has nothing to do with anything else we do in the show. Thank you for being here.
Hey,
Thank you for listening.
my pleasure.
Subscribe. Stay tuned. Hey, keep posting on the Reddit because I think we're gonna start.
Yeah, post on the Reddit, guys. We're going to talk to you guys on the Reddit. We're going to
The
ask
Twitter
you some
poll
questions.
thing is a little limiting, so I think we have some things we want to throw out to the fans about what we're
yeah,
going to do
Reddit,
next.
subreddit, it's blankies, /r, /blankies.
Backslash blankies is our Reddit. Go check that out. We're trying to engage people on that, and we'll sort of throw out some teases. Some of the miniseries we're talking about doing next week. Terminator 2, Judgment Day with Sam Rogal. Thank you very much for listening, and as always, stand up.
This has been a UCB comedy production. Check out our other shows on the UCB Comedy Podcast Network.